field of X30 pros to get in as the 15th and final seed. Who will it be? Brian Boley in the 325. You have been the random draw pick that will transfer in to tonight's X30 Shootout. Brian Boley, get ready for the shootout here in the 15th seed. Pick up your tires at the lobby.
we'll get turn numbers for you there when we can. But, through that bowl corner, it's very, very wet on the exit normally. But now for the entry, it makes it to where you have to have a really, really tight line through the entry of that bowl corner here. We're going to ride on board with Dusty Davis, who's absolutely flying right now in this warm session. Just putting on a clinic compared to every other driver. So far he's a second a lap faster than the next closest competitor here. If you continue following Dusty Davis there, you'll see that bowl corner that he's going through right now. The entry is still pretty wet, so he has to have a pretty tight line through that bowl corner. You see the driver struggling for grip there through the bowl, the banked bowl corner here. Nobody can find any grip through the entry. It's really going to be about how well you can back up the corner just to have the car kind of roll through there and, conserve, make sure the tires don't get, too cold for the rest of the racetrack, which is fully dry now.
Yeah, of course, and obviously on entry to that bowl corner, there's a bunch of wet patches on that way in there, like you were saying before, Alex. So, yeah, definitely going to be hard for these guys, but Dusty Davis at the moment has been in a class of his own all weekend long. And, kind of funny, when we were announcing these guys' race, we were hit by that big rainstorm. Obviously, nothing on the forecast for the rest of the night here, but obviously, definitely the rain still having some effects here. The bowl corner still very, very wet and very tricky to get past. And obviously Dusty Davis in a class of his own this weekend, Alex.
I will say this much, Caleb, with the forecast here. I was looking at it a little bit. The rain hasn't fully gone away yet, I don't think, out of Mooresville, North Carolina. There's still weather looming in the area, maybe just in time for the X30 Senior Shootout.
Yeah.
That'll make things pretty fun for us.
Of course, and obviously we saw Mr. 7-time go super fast with the mixed conditions. We obviously saw him decide on the slick tires, and that obviously helped him out. Brandon Carr and Brent Cruz obviously were the big losers in that race there, Alex. Obviously deciding to go on the rain tires, and they were losing time by the second. But this weekend has been all Dusty Davis, and behind them, John Bonanno. We were talking a little bit. John Bonanno is such an amazing name. Rolls right off the tongue, Alex, and he has been absolutely amazing this weekend as well in that Kart.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of John Bonanno, we're talking about Dusty Davis and how fast he's been, but John Bonanno last time by was within 2/10 now of Dusty Davis, so the field is, it's getting closer now, right? It's within like a second between the entirety of the top five now. Billy Workman, I'm surprised, actually hasn't been as quick as what we've seen throughout the three heats here. And as we see, a little graphic there saying hashtag no more rain. We'll see if that comes to fruition here. But on your screen, as the checker flag has come out here for Dusty Davis, who's put 2/10 on his closest competitor here, John Bonanno. Martin Stone, his RPM teammate, 4/10 off of the pace Dusty Davis has put on right now. Ryan Kastner on board the Maranello Kart, the number 2 plate, about 3/10 off there as he crosses the line. So good solid run for him there.
Yeah, and obviously John Bonanno doing a great job. And this practice session, these guys only have 5 minutes as Dusty Davis goes even faster last time by with the 51.835. This also serves as a little bit of a qualifying session for the Fast 5. So Dusty Davis will ultimately start on pole for the Fast 5. John Bonanno right behind him. Martin Stone in 3rd place. Ryan Kastner in 4th. And Billy Workman rounding out your Fast 5. So that is going to be our starting order when it comes time to go green here at Trackhouse Motorplex. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we are going to have the warm-up for our, if I'm not mistaken here,
IAME Juniors.
IAME Juniors. When we come back, don't go anywhere.
Line has steadily made progress since its inception in October 2021. On top of servicing the Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana areas with products from Kart chassis, Tillotson karts and engines, IAME, Briggs, Honda, and more, they're now promoting race events as well throughout the mid and coastal South region at NOLA Motorsports Park and Finish Line Performance Karting in Biloxi, Mississippi. Races are already set for the fall of 2022. September 3rd, October 22nd, and November 12th at NOLA Motorsports Park, and 2 dates, September 10th and October 15th at Finish Line Performance Karting. Driver Line is set to finish this year strong.
Welcome back to the IAME Grand Nationals. It is shaping out to be a beautiful night here at Trackhouse Motorplex. My name is Caleb Vieska, and alongside me here in the booth is the man himself, Alexander Searle. Alex, it's going to be a great night of racing. We've obviously seen another track layout change, so it's going to mix things up as we are getting set to go green here for the warm-up on IAME Juniors. Alex, it's been all Ernesto Rivera here early on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this alternate layout's going to put another wrench in the mix here for these drivers. You know, this warm-up, like you said, this warm-up shapes up kind of like a qualifying session for these drivers, but this is a brand new layout for all 5 of these guys. I mean, they've driven this exact layout before, but just backwards, right? So now after the three heat races this weekend, 2 of which were on the alternate layout, now we're going reverse. We're going to see how well these drivers can adapt to a different track. And as well, like we were saying, we saw the master guys struggling with the entry to that bowl corner. I suspect more of the same here tonight. That wet patch will not dry up before the night is done. And like we mentioned earlier, there is still a bit of a threat of rain here as the night goes on here, Caleb.
Yeah, and our producer over here is not wanting us to keep saying that R word, so I think we're going to put a pause on the rain because definitely not something we want to see. But, you know, it's always, the rain always tends to spice things up. And on a racing standpoint, that's always fun. But when it comes to, you know, having to weather down the elements over here, you know, we were pretty soaked throughout that heavy race. So definitely when it comes to, I guess, us, we don't like it. But when it comes to racing, rain always spices things up, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, rain always, you know, makes things interesting for the drivers, right? We saw especially with the X30 Senior guys, right? They were the first ones to really go through that transition period of wet to dry. We saw those 2 RPM drivers put the reins on, and it kind of cost them a little bit there. So this track, you know, known to dry really quickly, but with the sun going down and the moon coming up here, the lights coming on here, even if it does end up raining here, as our producer puts on the rain mention counter. We've already lost counts. But, yeah, like I was saying, if it does end up raining, and put that on the counter too there, Taylor, if it does end up raining tonight, there is no more sun to really dry up the racetrack, so it won't dry nearly as quickly as it did earlier today. But right now, it seems to be pretty clear out. Yeah. You know, the sun's gone down just about here. The lights are coming on.
We'll lose count.
And you can see them going through the banked bowl corner for the first time here, all struggling for grip, obviously on cold tires, plus the wet patch on the entry there. There really is no avoiding it, except maybe getting on the curbing a little bit on the inside, like we saw drivers on the exits of that corner, but now it's going to be reversed. So now the entry will be going on the curbing, and Ernesto Rivera struggling for grip, just like every other driver right now. But really, this is a warm-up / qualifying for these drivers, Caleb.
Yeah, and what really brings my attention here is that Ernesto Rivera, Teddy Masella, and if I'm not mistaken, that could be Jackson Woolney, I believe, all 3 RPG drivers in the Fast 5 shootout, 3 teammates. How are we feeling going into this race, Alex? Obviously, Stephen Miller there by himself, and obviously Carter McMurray in there as well with an RPG team pretty much going up against them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a deserving Fast 5 here for these 5 drivers. They have been the class of the IAME Junior field. And so, yeah, like you said, 3 RPG drivers in the Fast 6, should I say, because we're going to add Enzo Vidmontien to the mix here. He's been one of the quickest drivers in both KA and IAME Junior. As you see, Ernesto Rivera letting Stephen Miller by. Doesn't feel too comfortable just yet with these conditions and maybe the reverse layout. Teddy Musella seems to be pretty confident right now in these conditions right now, pulling away a little bit from Stephen Miller. Obviously, this is just a warm-up session here. / qualifying, should I say, but really it's just figuring out kind of where the grip is, where they can pass, where their kart is good, and what changes they need to make. Because even though it is the same, you know, sort of track layout as they drove earlier today, it's reverse, right? So there could be some gear changes. It could be a few, you know, carburation changes, like things that you're going to have to make a change to, whether it's front end, rear end, whatever it may be. That's what this warm-up's all about.
Yeah, of course, and this warm-up is definitely going to be a big learning session for these guys, but they obviously have to, I guess, adapt pretty quickly as Teddy Masella goes fastest already with the 52.172. Right behind him, Stephen Miller, half a second back, and Ernesto Rivera seems like he's struggling here a little bit. The RPG drivers haven't really gotten up to speed as much as they have wanted to here at the moment. Teddy Masella leads everybody. Teddy Masella, the only RPG driver who has really seemed to come to grips, but obviously they're going to come out slow, really try to understand the track, and Enzo Vidmontien there as well was one of the last ones, one of the last add-ons to this. But Enzo Vidmontien obviously was a big winner yesterday. He did win those $500 when it came to the Fast 5 shootout yesterday, and I'm pretty much looking for more of the same of that today. Obviously, this is X30.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify really quickly here. It is still the Fast 5 shootout because Carter McMurray on the comp cart will not be participating in tonight's event, so that's why Enzo Vidmontien made the show here. And I mean, very deserving for the Kart Public driver who has been, like I said, one of the quickest drivers all weekend long in the junior class. Teddy Masella goes purple once again, a 50.8, but here comes Stephen Miller. He's closed the gap to about 2/10 now lap time wise. So the Kart Public, the DAP Kart driver there for Stephen Miller, has picked up the pace just a little bit, and so has Ernesto Rivera as well, right behind Stephen Miller lap time wise, and they're both closing the gap to Teddy Masella, who's figured out the racetrack a little bit quicker than his teammates have in Jackson Wolney and Ernesto Rivera.
Yeah, of course, and as it stands at the moment, Teddy Masella will ultimately, for now, will start on provisional pole. Teddy Masella first, Stephen Miller second, Ernesto Rivera third, Jackson Wolney fourth, and Enzo Vidmontien, the last-minute add-on in that Kart Republic. He obviously was the big winner yesterday, but now he will start fifth as it stands, and all the places hold as it stands. But Enzo Vidmontien closing down the gap to Teddy Masella. Enzo Vidmontien, last time by, ran his best time so far of a 50.480. Ernesto Rivera 2/10 slower than Enzo Vidmontien, but still trying to make up time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty tightly knit group here in the IAME Junior class. The top 5, or at least the 5 competing in this Fast 5 shootout event, are separated by 3/10, which is, I mean, it's quite a decent margin in racing terms here, but yep. I'm sure once we get underway and the drivers start defending here, obviously there's money on the line, $500, should I say, for these young kids here in the IAME Junior class. They're going to be racing all out for the money, right? There's no points in line. This doesn't matter for tomorrow's pre-final, final events, so they can go all out here. Maybe there is 3 RPG teammates in this event, but I'm sure they're not going to be teammates in this race.
And more shuffling. Ernesto Rivera goes P2. Jackson Wolney goes fastest last time out with a 49.791. Ernesto Rivera 2/10 slower than Jackson Wolney. Enzo Vidmontien P3, and Teddy Masella, who was on provisional pole here, goes down to 5th. Stephen Miller splits Enzo Vidmontien and Teddy Masella up. He rounds up your top 5. Stephen Miller is 4th fastest at the moment. You see now on your timing screen as well, the times are being updated as we were lucky enough to get Race Hero back today.
Yeah, right now Ernesto Rivera, we were mentioning earlier in the session, surprised to see him not really have the pace in this session so far that we would have expected out of him, but he's picked it up here to put it P2 in this warm-up / qualifying session. Checkered flag is going to be in the air. These laps will count here. Where are we going to start for the Fast 5? It's going to be Jackson Wolney, Ernesto Rivera, Vidmontien, your top 3, Miller in 4th, and Teddy Masella, the driver who was first for most of the session, finds himself P5 and last here for the Fast 5 shootout. But again, this is going to be a super close battle here all the way to the end when it comes down to the Fast 5 shootout.
Yeah, and we can't fail to mention Ernesto Rivera and Jackson Wolney out of nowhere, making up that time, figuring out the track late on, and that's going to really help them out as they are now going to come into the pits. So, yeah, Ernesto Rivera starting on the front row, Jackson Wolney on the pole, Enzo Vidmontien 3rd, Stephen Miller 4th, and Teddy Masella rounds up your Fast 5.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a solid showing for these IAME Junior guys, like you said, with Wolney and Rivera coming out of nowhere to put themselves 1st and 2nd for the Fast 5 shootout event. When we come back, we're going to get ready to go set for some Fast 5 shootout racing. Don't go anywhere.
Line has steadily made progress since its inception in October 2021. On top of servicing the Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana areas with products from Kart chassis, Tillotson Karts and Engines, IAME, Briggs, Honda, and more, they're now promoting race events as well throughout the Mid and Coastal South region at NOLA Motorsports Park and Finish Line Performance Karting in Biloxi, Mississippi. Races are already set for the fall of 2022. September 3rd, October 22nd, and November 12th at NOLA Motorsports Park, and 2 dates, September 10th and October 15th at Finish Line Performance Karting. Driver Line is set to finish this year strong.
Really? Did you get bug spray?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Did you get bug spray?
Yeah, but that was before I got it. It's so itchy.
Jesus, is that ants?
No, it's mosquitoes.
I just have like gnats over here. That's all my issues. So I've been fucking chilling.
Oh god. My legs are so motherfucking bad.
Yeah. Hey, do you need a water? Okay.
It is showtime for the IAME Heavies. Dusty Davis will lead your field out here onto the racetrack as again, after the warm-up session, they have been lined, and it'll be the number 7 red and white Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart that will be the first driver to lead a lead any kind of grid backwards around Trackhouse Motorplex, only fitting for a kid who's turned into a young man and now older than me. I can't say young man too much, but Dusty Davis started here when he was still working his way through the racing career as a corner marshal. Raced nearly every single year, at least one start, won a couple of local track championships, has won national races here. It's only fitting he's the one that leads the field to green, backwards into turn number 11 on the standard layout for the very first time. Alongside him, it'll be that blue and yellow fluorescent Cup Kart of John Bonanno in the 572. And then row 2, it'll be Martin Stone in the 441 Lando Norris Kart that'll start 3rd. Ryan Kastner on the Prodigy Racing Maranello will start 4th. And Billy Workman Jr. in the number 264 Kart Republic is going to have a long way to go. Well, at least longest in this race, P5 on the grid of the Fast 5 for IAME Heavy here in this 10-lap shootout. Caleb?
Yeah, of course, Xander. Obviously, Billy Workman has been one of the fast guys, and we have seen him challenge Dusty Davis all weekend long, but was not the practice/qualifying that he would have wanted. So obviously, he's going to start from the tail end of this field here, Xander.
Well, we get set to go green as they will make their way backwards through the racetrack, and Dusty Davis is going to have them nice and slow before they make their way out of that final hairpin. So take everything you learned today, turn it around. What was now 5 and 6 is now much later in the lap. And then as they go towards that final hairpin, it's the green flag. We're underway with a single file start in the infield, and Dusty Davis leads us down. So to keep it from getting too gnarly, headed down over to turn number 11 on the first time. They started them single file in the infield, and they're green up the hill. Dusty Davis leads over John Bonanno, and they're side by side for second or third. Martin Stone going to send Ryan Kastner as he high sides over that exit curb and falls back to 5th.
And now we're seeing something new here, Xander. Obviously, that exit curb now obviously caught Martin Stone off guard and pretty much is putting him into the tail end of this field now. But Dusty Davis, we've seen it all weekend. When he gets to the front of this field, he's going to absolutely run away with it here. If anybody else can challenge and maybe pull something out of the bag here, John Bonanno is on the spot here, and Martin Stone right behind him, fast charging through the field.
Let's see it here. So Dusty Davis is a lap already in as they've crossed the loop. 9 laps to go for the number 7 of Dusty Davis to run away to $500 as Martin Stone is under fire. Billy Workman Jr. was already looking to get by, and John Bonanno on his opening lap has lost some ground to the Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart driver. These drivers only had a short warm-up session and then got underway racing here at Trackhouse Motorplex into that last turn, and then down the backstretch run they go. Up the hill, then over to this 180. That is now turn number 3. They go through turn 3 and into a full throttle turn 4. But again, that wet patch is there, still a little bit on the outside of the circuit where you would normally open up to set up for the turn. You got to enter low and run out wide. And then the barriers have been lined on the outside of the back straightaway to keep everyone's speeds down so they can't use that excess runoff. But this is a fun section to drive, and I must say, on undisclosed conditions, I have been through it this direction before here, Caleb, and it is a wild ride to run down that hill and up and over the S's curbing.
Yeah, of course, seems like a very physical track. Obviously, speaking of guys such as Aiden Levy, who's running K100 Senior this weekend, he was telling me that the layout, the way that they were running it earlier today was already physical, and I can imagine that this is already more physical with bigger curbs and obviously a whole lot of turns to get through.
Well, with all that said here, the field makes its way out of the opening turn on the racetrack across the loop. That'll put 3 complete now. 7 laps to go. Dusty Davis is still the fastest. They picked up a little bit in terms of closing to him. Martin Stone was the next best, back in third. So keep your eye on the bright yellow helmet P3 trying to close that gap as they ride down the long back straightaway over to turn number 3 on the normal layout. And down the hill we go for, again, Martin Stone all over in that red and white Tony Kart behind the blue and yellow comp kart of John Bonanno for second. Nothing pays besides the win, so he's got a long way to go forward still, but it's a good run in the works. If you can set him up for a dive bomb right here in this infield hairpin, not close enough.
And now coming into the frame, Billy Workman Jr. He has been very quick all weekend as well, and now he's closing down that gap to Martin Stone and that Ryan Perry Motorsports Tony Kart. And as well, obviously Martin Stone looking over his shoulders last time by. Billy Workman was the fastest man on track with the 51.673. Billy Workman picking up the pace. He was faster than Dusty Davis, and now we're going to see Billy Workman trying to make the move on Martin Stone, who's up ahead.
Well, the pits continue to fill on up here. That X30 Shootout presented by MG Tires with $5,000 on the line is going to be coming up here after the X30 Juniors get their Fast 5 race in following this one. So it's a quick 1, 2, 3 punch all the way through the night as that shootout will get underway with a warm-up session. They'll have to go out first at least once on the MG Yellows, and then they have to use the Reds at some point throughout the night, but they have to start on the MG Yellows. They have to practice on those MG Yellows. And again, that is the new curveball thrown by Race Promoter IAME USA East at these X30 Pros in the shootout. When do you use your MG Red tires? And you can't do it in warm-up, and you can't save your MG Yellows all the way till the end of the race. You got to start on those yellows and switch them off later.
Yeah, and obviously you can't fail to mention, Xander, that they can mix those tires however they want. You can go left side, MG Yellows. You can go right side, MG Reds. Definitely going to be something to see here, but at the moment on your screen, Martin Stone all over the rear end of John Bonanno. John Bonanno looks over his shoulder. He sees that RPM right behind him. Martin Stone sticks his nose on the outside, cannot get it done here. Still on the tail end of John Bonanno, and welcome to the party, Billy Workman Jr. Sticks his nose down the inside on Martin Stone, cannot get it done. A little bit of contact in between the two there, Xander. And again, Billy Workman trying to slide down the inside on Martin Stone, but cannot get it done.
Yeah, he was trying to get close there, couldn't get close enough, and now he really got himself all kind of spun apart as the gaps open back up. All the while, Dusty Davis continues to lead. They'll cross the loop here this time. 4 laps to go as they head down into turn number 1.
4 laps to go for Dusty Davis, and he has been absolutely perfect. John Bonanno and Martin Stone, they have spread out a little bit as a little bit of fighting there was not going to help them out on their charge back to Dusty Davis, and Billy Workman with a handful of work to do to catch right back up to Martin Stone.
Well, with 4 laps to go, Dusty Davis still showing no signs of slowing down as he rides down the hill into that quick S's section and a corner you can wipe out a little bit wide, and that time Stone did in the center, and that opened the door for Billy Workman to try and get by. Look at this now. Already, Martin Stone's gotten back up to John Bonanno here in this quick shootout format. He's close. Can he set him up for a dive in the infield hairpin? Not enough on the exit again. Bonanno pulls away, but maybe here. No, not close enough there either. Out of the final corner, up the hill, through the loop. It is still Bonanno second, Stone third. 3 laps to go. Dusty Davis leads here in IAME Heavy.
Yeah, and John Bonanno seems like he's losing a little bit of time on that infield, hopping all those curbs, and Martin Stone has been keeping it super clean, trying not to touch the curbs. Oh, and down the inside, Martin Stone sticks a nose but cannot get it done on John Bonanno. Looks like Martin Stone did a way tighter line into the bowl, and John Bonanno went a little wider but could not get it done there on John Bonanno, who has obviously been super quick, and as we see here, super aggressive on the curbs there, and Martin Stone trying to close back that gap to John Bonanno up ahead.
He's trying to get there, and again, like you said, Bonanno going wide, but running the potential of a damp racetrack to set up for the corner. It paid off enough to give him a good launch out of there, and he's been getting good exits in the infield section. That's kept Martin Stone at bay. He hasn't been able to find a way around him. The double sticks will fly this time by from Porter Wiesensenzel on the finish line straight. It is 2 laps to go as the field heads for turn 1 once again. Dusty Davis's lead continues at 1.7 seconds now with 8 laps down, 2 to go. The X30 Juniors continue to watch and follow what is happening so far. That wet patch again, still a little bit wild to go wide through it, but for now it's working for Bonanno. He's able to pull away as they head down the backstretch through that full throttle run all the way down the hill and through the S's into this section right here. Maybe he can set him up in the middle. Not close enough. Bonanno holds.
Bonanno holds on, but for how long? Martin Stone is breathing down his neck here as he sticks a nose down the inside, pushes him out a little wide. John Bonanno and Martin Stone going at it here. Can he get a switchback done? He cannot at the moment, and Martin Stone is still behind John Bonanno. John Bonanno tries to defend, cannot. A little bit of more contact, and Billy Workman goes through. What a move by Billy Workman. All the while, Martin Stone and John Bonanno were fighting. Billy Workman is going to take the second spot away from them and moves up to P2.
What a move by Billy Workman. Martin Stone already put the bumper to Bonanno twice now. Does he do it for third on this final lap? Dusty Davis is long gone. He's running away to $500, the first cash winner in this one, as the battle for second and third and fourth continues. Final time, down the hill. Do we see another bump and run attempt from Martin Stone? Can Bonanno get back to Billy Workman? He's not close enough. Nobody is close enough as they go over to the final double right-hander and into the infield hairpins. Last time through, Billy Workman looks safe. Bonanno trying to get close, sends it in, deep and over the curbing. Nobody is close enough, and up front, out of the final turn, Dusty Davis, $500 richer. He'll win the IAME Heavy Fast 5 Shootout. Behind him, Workman, Bonanno, Stone, and Kastner, your top five.
What a drive by Dusty Davis, the magician. Alexander Searle said it yesterday. His favorite color is purple because this man goes purple every time by. He has really showed his class all weekend long, and he said it himself. Karting is the purest form of motorsport, and it all comes down to driver. And today, Dusty Davis was the best driver out there.
Well, Dusty Davis will get his $500 check right after driver intros for X30 Pro when they come out later. So congratulations to Dusty Davis. He comes in. Check this out down on the grid, though. The X30 Juniors are getting ready to roll. There is a number of them. Teddy Musella starts tail end Charlie on the field. Stephen Miller, Mr. Excitement in the X30 Junior class here in 2023 on that red and yellow DAP cart for Chad Dawkin Racing, rolls off in third. And on the pole here to lead, or on third to roll them off, as it'll be a single file start, my mistake. Miller fourth. It'll be Enzo Vidmontien on the orange and white Motorsport Kart Republic. Starting second with a good run through the opening warm-up session. Ernesto Rivera, the kid to beat here so far this weekend. The kid from Mexico lines up behind his Rawlson Performance Group teammate of Jackson Wolney in the 796 on those bright yellow gloves. He'll lead us off the grid, and we get set for our second of two Fast 5 Shootouts for $500.
Yeah, and Xander, I was speaking to Ernesto Rivera a little bit before the race. I mentioned to him, man, hey, your suit's a little bit too short for you, and he told me it's just aerodynamics. So Ernesto Rivera has been quick all weekend long, and it seems like that suit is helping him out. The aerodynamics are on his side because he has been absolutely perfect today and pretty much all weekend long. Obviously, yesterday was not the day that he would have wanted, but here we are. This is the Fast 5 Shootout, and it's all to play for here as, like Xander said, Enzo Vidmontien at the moment. Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's one of the RPG drivers who's on pole. And Ernesto Rivera second, Enzo Vidmontien third, Stephen Miller right behind them. And it's going to be all to play for here, Xander.
It's going to be a lot of fun here. Another $500 up for grabs. They'll start on what looks to be here in the infield, single file for the starts on this backwards layout to try and keep them from potentially losing their chance at $500 right up here, coming out of that hairpin on the run to turn number one on this direction. It'll again be Jackson Wolney and Ernesto Rivera in the Rawlson Performance Group Cosmics. Behind him, Enzo Vidmontien on the Motorsport Kart Republic. And then further back, fourth will be Stephen Miller on the red and yellow DAP cart. And fifth, starting shotgun on the field, will be Teddy Musella out of Orlando, Florida on the RPG Cosmic with that bright blue helmet. So the field will begin to form down the back straightaway for a single file start here as we try to pick them up for the X30 Juniors. And again, this class already has been one of the more recent ones on the racetrack. They're the ones with a lot more knowledge of what it was like in that final heat, so they came into the warm-up a little bit more prepared after the rain completely washed out the circuit. And now they've got already a warm-up underneath them that's gridded them for this heat with a lap time of 49.79. It was about a tenth and a quarter advantage for Jackson Wolney over Ernesto Rivera. It was about 2/10 back to Vidmontien and Miller, and Musella was about a half second off. So we'll see what adjustments have they made as the leader is going to fire off early into the double right, and we're green as the field gets underway. 10 laps on the boards, and Jackson Wolney already under fire from Ernesto Rivera in the opening hairpins.
Obviously, the two RPG teammates are not going to try to work together here as there's a lot of money on the line. 500 big ones. As I think we see a move further on back. If I'm not mistaken, that could be Teddy Musella on Stephen Miller. Teddy Musella making the move, and he gets it done on Stephen Miller.
So now Steven's got to have that hard decision of, well, you got to suck up your pride and follow Teddy. If you get too big into a battle for fourth. You're never going to get up to the leader. He's banking on now Ernesto Rivera, the driver that's been arguably his rival in the junior ranks here in 2023, to go and battle for the lead. That's the only shot Miller will have back at it now without a major change in pace. Jackson Wolney leads by 2 car lengths as they cross over the punch-off cone, going into the double right with Enzo Vidmontien behind. In this single file start, it's kept it clean enough. All 5 are running, coming to put a full lap in the books. It'll be 8 to go at the line. Jackson Wolney leading Ernesto Rivera, setting him up out of this final hairpin on the run up the hill.
And Ernesto Rivera not able to get it done thus far, but he is breathing down Jackson Wolney's neck. Jackson Wolney was the fastest man lap time by with a lap time of 50.459, and Ernesto Rivera was a little bit slower, hundredths of seconds slower than him. And I think that is Ernesto Rivera on the lead of this race at the moment. And if I'm not mistaken, Enzo Vidmontien up in a P2 and Jackson Wolney down in a P3. Not too sure what happened there.
Yeah, he was able to get around him, it looked like, coming into that turn 3 hairpin. So Jackson Wolney back to third. Enzo Vidmontien with the Motaz Sport team tuning him up. As you see, a little bit of a different line on the X30 Juniors. They're using that runoff in the original turn 6 on the layout. As they go to the final few corners, Vidmontien right now tries to send it down the inside and to the lead for Enzo. 2 by 2 into the final hairpin. Look at Jackson Wolney trying to rip the top side. He'll be side by side with his teammate. Rivera's low. Wolney has to back out as he gets up onto the curb. Here comes Teddy Musella. Side by side for third as he goes around the outside. He'll have the inside in the next corner, and he gets to P3. Miller's back in it, and we're single file out of the bowl that'll send him like a slingshot down that back straightaway.
And at the moment, the three RPG drivers are in a Kart Republic sandwich here, and Ernesto Rivera is going to try to chase back down that Kart Republic of Enzo Vidmontien, who has been super quick. He won the shootout yesterday, and Ernesto Rivera down the inside could not get it done. Seems like Enzo Vidmontien has a wider kind of entry into that corner, and Ernesto Rivera was maybe thinking about peeking a nose down the inside, but could not get it done. At the moment, Teddy Musella is the fastest man on track. Now, at the moment, Teddy Musella behind Ernesto Rivera as they chase down Enzo Vidmontien.
All right, Enzo Vidmontien tries to lead the field out of turn number 1 and over to turn 2, the bend. Turn number 3, that hairpin. Can Enzo get away? Look at that big send in from Ernesto Rivera. He gained a lot of time sending it into the concrete, but he got a little loose on the wet patch as they come out of the bowl. Still a good run for Ernesto. It's not over yet. 6 laps to go. We've still got anyone's guess who can win this X30 Junior Fast 5 shootout for $500. Rivera on the bumper of Enzo Vidmontien through the original turn 1, back up the hill to the original turn number 6. Vidmontien trying to get away as the Orlando, Florida native, and with the Brazilian-American dual citizenship, tries to lead and get himself a win here in the hills of North Carolina. Out of the hairpins, this time by, we're halfway in and halfway home. 5 laps to go, $500 on the line for Enzo Vidmontien.
5 laps to go, and Ernesto Rivera still on the rear. Oh, a little mistake for Enzo Vidmontien, and Ernesto Rivera sneaks a move on the outside, takes advantage of that mistake by Enzo Vidmontien. Move Ernesto Rivera, the young Mexican, up in a P number 1.
And Ernesto Rivera back to the lead for the second time here in this one. And now he tries to hold off Vidmontien again. He got to learn from him for a few laps. This is the toughest spot to be, going blind. He feels like he's got it a little better. He was the fastest driver on the racetrack last time by. The kid to beat all year is now once again the kid to beat for the $500 Fast 5 shootout. Ernesto Rivera leads into the infield hairpin. It'll be 4 to go this time, capitalizing on the only mistake Enzo Vidmontien made all race long, and he takes over the lead with 4 to go.
Yeah, very opportunistic move by Ernesto Rivera there, taking advantage of the mistake by Enzo Vidmontien. Now, Enzo Vidmontien, he's obviously super quick. He's going to try to make up that time to Ernesto Rivera. They've been super close in lap times. Only a 10th separates both of them, but these guys are definitely, they've been going at it all weekend long, and they're going at it here again for the 500 big ones here, Xander.
Yeah, they are going at it now. I give Ernesto Rivera credit. He was purple again last time, and he opened the gap up. Enzo Vidmontien is trying to learn on the fly and make adjustments. So is Teddy Musella, who has worked his way up to third around Jackson Wolney, but he hasn't been able to get any further forward. Stephen Miller fighting back as now Musella blows the corner, and Wolney gets back through. Commentators curse strikes for Teddy. He goes back to fourth. Jackson Wolney gets the bumper from his own teammate, and Teddy Musella gets through. And the RPG boys puckering on the fence as they battle outside of the money spot. Musella with 3 to go into third.
And the more these guys battle, the more Enzo Vidmontien can extend his gap in between the both of them. And now it seems like Enzo Vinmontier is closing the gap down a little bit to Ernesto Rivera as the 2 RPG drivers behind him of Teddy Masella and Jackson Warney continue to fight. And now Enzo Vinmontier has his sights set on Ernesto Rivera.
Yeah, Ernesto Rivera, unfortunately, has no more gauge up front. Enzo does. He can find where Ernesto breaks and try to go deeper, try to carry more speed, so he finds himself in the better spot as Ernesto cleans the racetrack out of the infield section to the hairpins. It'll be 2 to go this time by Ernesto Rivera with the heart of Mexico. Enzo Vinmontier, the Brazilian-American, out of the final hairpin. 2 to go as they cross the line for Ernesto Rivera.
The 2 sticks are in the air. Ernesto Rivera knows it, and now he's going to put his foot down, keep his head down, and try to extend that gap to Enzo Vinmontier, who obviously has a full head of steam here at the moment, trying to catch right back up to Ernesto Rivera. It seems like he made a mistake there out of the hairpin, and that's really not going to help him out on his charge to really close down Ernesto Rivera here, Xander.
He tried to send it deep, and he blew the corner. Enzo Vinmontier is now well out of view. This might be over already. Ernesto Rivera's lead is now at 7 car lengths and growing. Coming to the white flag. They'll head to the infield for the second to last time. Out of the double right. Ernesto Rivera just needs to put one more good lap together. No mistakes. And we've seen that turn 1 curb already catch out Enzo Vinmontier. Can Ernesto Rivera master it? He's been using it to try and put a good lap together. He was fastest again last time. This time by fastest again. Continues to set the benchmark and find more speed. He's got the gap though. It's over a second. Ernesto Rivera just needs to bring it home.
Yeah, what a drive by Ernesto Rivera so far. He goes faster and faster every lap. Seems like he's learning more and more as the laps go by. This is the final lap. Ernesto Rivera has been absolutely perfect today. The kid has made 0 mistakes, and when his competitors have made mistakes, he's obviously taken advantage of it. Ernesto Rivera is absolutely perfect in this race.
He'll head to the double right for the final time. Ernesto Rivera chasing down a nice payday to go into the main events as he challenges for the double. A $5,000 bonus payday potentially for tomorrow. Tonight, though, $500 are going to Mexico as Ernesto Rivera wins the Fast 5 Shootout at X30 Junior.
Ernesto Rivera. What a drive by him. He's obviously super stoked. Talked to him a little bit before the race, and he was absolutely happy. What a drive by him, and congrats to the whole RPG team.
Well, the Fast 5 Shootouts are completed. A commercial break will take us through, and then we'll come back with driver introductions for the X30 Pro Shootout presented by MG Tires. So it's almost time to get things started for the X30 Pro Shootout. We are in a rush to get everything ready to go. We'll quickly introduce the drivers and send them to their cars for the opening heat race here on this backwards layout. This is going to be wild, fans. Make sure you're ready. It is time to learn the grid as the X30 Juniors roll their way through the scale line and we get set to go green. It is going to be a blast for everyone. And joining me here in the booth as we get set to call the action will be Connor Zilish. So Connor, let's go ahead and hook you up with a headset here and tap you on in. Good to have you back with us as we get set to go.
Good to be back here. It's going to be an interesting one. We got even more strategy today than we did yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see who goes out, what their plans are for this warm-up session, and where we're going to go for the rest of the night.
Well, we're set and just about set to get underway here. We're just waiting on the last few moments of X30 Junior to roll through the scales, and I think we're almost set to meet our field. So, again, X30 Pro presented by MG Tires. 5,000 big ones up for grabs. Straight into the heat races here to try and beat the wet weather. We know there's inclement weather on the way. This is going to be wild. It's going to be fun. We've got the grid that'll be coming our way shortly here, but let's go ahead and get set to bring you through everyone else that you will find. So, as the field makes its way over to the scale area. All right, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. If you're ready for the X30 Pro MG Tire Shootout, $5,000 are up for grabs. Let's meet the starting lineup for our X30 Pro Shootout here as the field gets set to walk on through. First up, who won your fan favorite vote winner? Driving a Lando Norris kart for Brandon Jarsa Crack Racing and Mike Doty Racing, number 54, Caleb Gaffera. Entering as the 14th seed, the random draw pick, driving for Rollison Performance Group, the Cosmic number 325 out of North Carolina, Brian Boley. Another promoter pick here from the KC and IAME panel, coming in as seed number 13, driving an MPG Motorsports Kart Republic from Gahanna, Ohio, number 41, Braden Eves. Coming in as seed number 12 on the KC and IAME promoter picks here. Driving a Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart. Mr. Excitement number 11, Brent Cruz. In the 11th seed, the final KC and IAME promoter pick. Driving a Brandon Jarsa Crack Racing, Mike Doty Racing LN Kart. Last year's heartthrob, number 318, Justin Ataconis. And now, your top 10 that qualified off the heat race points. First up, in the 10th seed, after heats 1, 2, and 3 were ran, driving a Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart from the United Kingdom, number 15, Brandon Carr. In the 9th seed, after a consistent run through the heat races, driving a Motaz Sport blue and yellow Alonzo Kart number 338, out of Florida, Tyler McIntyre. In the 8th seed, who originally won the fan vote but didn't need it, out of Miami, Florida, driving an International Motorsport Kart Republic, number 320, Alessandro DiTullio. In the 7th seed, last year's winner, number 348, Ryan Norberg. In the 6th seed, driving the number 17 Privateer Kart Republic out of North Carolina, Dalton Haynes. And your top 5 that automatically transferred into tonight's All-Star Shootout. Number 388, driving a Host Driver Development Tony Kart. Nicholas Terlecki. In the 4th seed, the kid from Key West, driving a Chad Dawkin Racing Kart Republic, number 9, Jacob Kolar. In the number 3 seed, looking for redemption from 24 hours ago, driving a BJR MDRLN kart out of North Carolina, number 308, Paulie Massimino. And your top 2 seeds after today's heat races, each with heat wins apiece. Out of Davie, Florida, driving a Speed Concepts Racing Red Speed, number 392, Austin Garrison. And finally, your number 1 seed coming in as the 2-time heat winner, the winningest driver in the 2023 Pro National calendar from England, the number 304 Kart Republic, Joe Turney. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get set to go green. There it is, your field for the X30 Pro Shootout. $5,000. Heat 1 is coming your way next, and we talked to a bunch of them. Well, let's hear how much would it mean to walk away with $5,000 here tonight.
What would it mean to you to win the shootout this year?
It means $5,000. You know, it's not really about the race win. It's just about the money. I mean, it's a nice little check to take home. It takes a lot of stress off the weekend, but I mean, we're really focused on the main win for the weekend, championship. That's really what we're going for. So the shootout's fun and everything, but we just really want to focus on getting the big win.
I mean, everything, you know, obviously there's a lot of money on the line, which is the main thing, really. But just to get some redemption from last year, obviously, coming up short in the main. You know, I like to get a win here, get an X30 win. I don't know when I'm doing this, if I'm ever going to be one of these races again. So I like to get a win at some point. So maybe the shootout, maybe Sunday, we'll see.
I mean, it'd mean a lot. I mean, it would just be redemption from last year. I was a spot away, so it'd be great.
A lot. Yeah, we want to win. It's a long way to come here and not win, so we'll try our best.
It would mean I'd be richer. That's about it.
Well, it's time to go for the X30 Pro Shootout presented by MG Tires. $5,000 on the line. The drivers are suiting up and getting set to go green. Here's a look from the backside of what will be the exit of the grid going this opposite direction, and we're set to let them loose here for their opening session. The karts are almost on the ground, and it's time to go racing here in just a few moments while we get set to go. So let's keep an eye on how they'll line up, and we know exactly how they'll line here for heat number 1. Before we go green, though, of course, they all get one warm-up session. So they're warming the karts up here to learn the racetrack. They've got to go out for their warm-up session and start on MG Yellow tires. And Heat 1, Heat 2, the grid's set. But first, they get a taste of this track layout. So let's get ready to go for X30 Pro Senior. Here, Connor Zilish back in with me. You went and got a little bit more info from the pit area. What can you hear? What do you think?
Yeah, there's some guys that have been talking about not going out for this warm-up session as it's not mandatory, and you have to put the laps on your yellow tires if you do go out. So already some strategy coming into play, and personally, if it were me, I wouldn't go out. But with the rain on the way, we're not going to be running these tires anyway, as it looks like we're going to be on rain tires here in about 15 minutes if the radar is correct. But we're in North Carolina, so we don't know. We can't trust the radar here.
It's definitely close. We know it's close. We know this shootout's going to be gnarly. Everyone's getting set to go. You can see the engines are warming up. There's ADT, Alessandro DiTullio, warming and getting set here for warm-up. This is 2 minutes there, the call from race promoter Eric Jones of IAME USA East before we release them off the grid. 2-minute warning here. 2-minute warning given to all the drivers as it looks like from the grid.
If we take a look back to last year, warm-up for this event, Ryan Norberg's got his helmet on, sat on the grid, but didn't even go out on the track. He almost fooled me. I went out, did half a lap, and pulled in because you got to do what the competition does, and if the competition doesn't go out, you can't go out either. So we'll see if he has the same strategy this year as he did last year. He won the race last year, so if it works out for him this year, we'll see.
Well, it's going to get wild here as we go backwards for the first time ever for the IAME X30 Pro Shootout presented by MG Tires. The wet weather's close. The engines are on for warm-up here. But we're going to keep our tabs on how everything looks out to see if we go green, because we know that the inclement weather is nearby. But the warm-up session will kick things off again. Everyone, like you said, not mandatory, but what is mandatory is they got to start on the yellows. Now, it wasn't mandatory last year, Connor. I'm not sure. Are you sure they don't have to go out at all
I
for this
talked
year?
to Eric because I wanted to make sure you do not have to go out for the warm-up session, but if you do go out, you have to be on the MG yellows. So a bit of a strategy call for these guys, but with weather coming in, it makes sense to go out and learn the track since you probably won't have to be using these tires as we get later into the night.
Well, we know that the karts are on the ground, and you can see a number of cars that will be going out. Austin Garrison is ready to go. So is Justin Ataconis and Alessandro DiTullio and Brian Boley. There is Nicholas Terlecki on the Hotes DD 388. He's getting set to go green for warm-up as they line up. And the only other part of the grid's a lot more cramped going out this way, so you can't exactly fool people and wait. You've got to go. But you could do what you did, Connor. Go out, put one scuff lap in, come straight into the pit lane.
Yeah, the only reason I did that is I looked back into the pits, and I thought Ryan was going to go out because he had his helmet on, and he looked like he was ready to go, but he fooled me. So we'll see if he does the same thing here this year. Obviously, he's got his helmet on. He's getting ready to go. But if they pull out, it's a different story.
Well, here they go, leaving the grid. Green flag is out for warm-up, and the pink and chrome Kart Republic of Alessandro DiTullio is going to crawl his way out, and we get set for it. The X30 Pro Shootout is now getting underway with warm-up before the heat races. And who can learn the track the fastest and save the tires the best, as they all have to start on those MG yellows. Second out on the racetrack is Tyler McIntyre. He'll instantly pull to the wayside and trail backwards. Caleb Gaffera on that blue and yellow BJR MDRLN kart is going to go around. The rookie and the fan vote winner will be the first one to take some laps on this circuit. A number of drivers still crawling. Joe Turney, we can see, is out there. Austin Garrison, we know, is out there. Is Ryan Norberg on the racetrack?
Paulie and Garrison are still sitting on pit road. They have their stuff on, so if they're going to go out, we'll see. But we got a few karts sitting on pit road as nobody really wants to go here as we start this warm-up session. And as we look back to yesterday, Danny Formal went out for warm-up but only put 3 laps on his tires, and he was the one that ended up winning the race. So the guy that put the least amount of laps on his tires in warm-up won the shootout. So we'll see if history repeats itself tonight as we look into this warm-up session.
I'm curious if anyone instantly bails and goes to the just on a half lap and comes to pit lane. It doesn't look like anyone in this first group has done that. So they're all kind of taking the lead by Joe Turney and going at his pace, knowing how good he is on conserving rubber. They're just going to follow him as he slowly takes them around, and now I think they're going to get set to try and give us some fast laps. So let's find out who goes quickest in the warm-up. Joe Turney still slow, coming out of that hairpin and onto the front straightaway.
Yeah, Ryan Norberg still sitting on pit road here as we start the session. Kind of the same thing that we saw last year, sitting in his go-kart with his helmet on. And if I'm the competition, if he doesn't go out, I'm not going out either. But it's a little bit tougher for Austin Garrison as he doesn't have any teammates. Ryan Norberg has some teammates out here that are figuring out the gear and if we need any setup changes. And that's a big helping hand for Ryan and that RPG team. So as you can see, Austin Garrison still sitting on pit road, just waiting to see what happens as we get further into this session.
Well, there you can see it all right here. So no times yet. Austin Garrison getting some more intel. Then Alex Speed sitting down there talking with his team driver as well, letting him know what they think. And then, like you mentioned, Paulie Massimino was sitting. There's a look at the pack. They're starting to get up to full song. Turney, DiTullio, McIntyre, Kolar, and a Kart Republic train leading into the hairpin. They'll get a slow outlap in the books as they come around to the loop to go to full speed for the first time. Brandon Carr's put a lap in together, and so has Nick Terlecki, so has Caleb Gaffera. Carr, I think that lap's a little bit quick.
As you can see, Brandon Carr is the only one that's pushing his tires. He's 10 seconds faster than the rest of the field. So you can see Joe Turney leading these guys at almost a pace lap speed, just trying to learn the track, see where it goes, learn where the puddles are in turn 4. There's still some puddles out there. Even though we can't see them, this track does have a line that sticks across the track. And as you can see, Paulie Massimino went out on the racetrack. As Ryan Norberg Ryan Norberg leaving pit road, so he's going to go out on track. Brent Cruz is the only kart that hasn't gone out for this session, as he's going to sit on pit road and save his MG yellows for the rest of the night.
Oh, wow, look at that fake out. Joe Turney just pulled a fast one on DiTullio and that whole pack. He hopped over the curb and nearly high-sided, and Alessandro DiTullio and Jacob Kolar were just trying to do whatever Joe does, and they had to drive through the grass on their MG yellows to get into the pit lane, but they cheat their way in as well, so they're done. As they come in, there's DiTullio, there's Kolar. Behind them is Dalton Haynes. He's also in. So they went around, paraded, learned the track. How much can you really learn on a pace lap, though, at 40-50% speed, Connor?
I think you learn enough. You get your sights. You see where your brake markers may be. Obviously, we're going backwards. Nobody has ever driven Trackhouse Motorplex backwards before, so this is all new to every one of these guys. I was talking to Paulie Massimino. He's here at least 3-4 times a week. He has never even ran this track backwards. So you got to go out there, and I guess for some of these guys, see where the track's going to go, pick up some markers, and kind of understand what you're going to have for the heat race. If you're starting up front in a heat race, you're going to want to know where to go, because if you start up front, you're going to want to stay up front. If you start further back, it might be a better strategy to just run 2-3 laps and kind of understand what the kart looks like and what you're going to have. But for these guys that are starting at the front of the first heat race, you're going to want to be able to stay up there. So doing these laps at full tilt might help, but at the end of the night, who knows what's going to happen.
Well, we saw Brent Cruz there in frame. Here's another shot at the Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart driver. He's just been watching this session. Brent Cruz did not suit up at all. So he is there just in taking in the warm-up. And the Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart driver is going to be the only one with sticker MG yellows, it looks like, here. Not a single lap turn. So you can see a smile on his face. I can tell that he feels pretty confident.
Yeah, and if I was Brent, I'd be doing the same thing. You know, he's kind of been off pace a little bit through the heat races in the X30 class, so he's got to do something to try and get an advantage on these guys, and this is exactly what he's doing right now.
Tyler McIntyre going to lately bail out of the line, as will Nicholas Terlecki. They'll climb up the hill, and T-Mac actually stalled the motor a little early, so we'll have to push it on up. Terlecki pulls in. There is Austin Garrison in the background. He's still going full bore. And so is rookie Caleb Gaffera, I believe. Justin Ataconis is full speed. So is Braden Eves there on the red and white MPG Motorsports Kart Republic, one of the promoters' picks that got in. Here is a look at some of the other drivers. Let's pick up some more that are still running at full tilt. How about Gaffera right there? Is that him? And here's Austin Garrison going up the hill. Gaffera coming out of the bowl. He was full speed. Another one just bailed into pit lane. Ryan Norberg is in. So the 348, just a couple laps. But guess what, Connor? He was fastest.
Well, not
if that
really.
Was right.
No, that's not right.
It's thrown off. That's what's thrown it. What's thrown it off is that loop. There is a timing loop here in the access road coming into pit lane. Normally, it's the pit out loop. They needed to deactivate that loop right there. That's what's throwing our lap times off. So we're not going to get really much of an accurate reading. Norberg and Boley just going out and then quickly coming in, because the time it takes to go from the timing and scoring loop on the racetrack to that pit lane loop, that's why we're seeing 36 seconds right now.
Yeah, I think the fastest kart that has done a lap would be, no, I don't even think Allison. I think Brandon Carr is still the fastest guy that's run a lap, but I would say 2 or 3 of these guys have done a lap at 100%, looking out there and seeing what they've done. I mean, Joe Turney went out there and ran a 55-second lap time when the fastest guys are running 44s. So he went out there, learned the track, didn't put any wear on his tires, and is going to come in and have a good understanding of the track and still have a lot of grip left in those tires.
Yeah, looking at it, it was a 48.7 for Braden Eves that time. Norberg only did 1 lap out of 50, so he didn't really get a full lap at full speed. Caleb Gaffera got a 1 or 2 laps in. He was in the 50s and 50.1s. Joe Turney, we saw him creeping around. He just did really 2 laps there. As in comes Austin Garrison. Let's see if we can take a look at the laps that he's put together. It looks like maybe a 50.4 on his 1 push lap, if that's correct. So I think they're sorting that issue out in timing and scoring. Granted, that won't matter anymore here in the races, to be fair, Connor, because now everyone's going to have to run all the way through for all the heat races. So none of that really matters all too much. Connor, let's send you down to pit lane. Why don't you go have some fun with the boys
I'll go
here.
talk to some of these guys and see what they're thinking.
Yeah, let's go send Connor on down here with our mobile camera and our mobile microphone, and we'll find out what the status quo is down on pit lane. Caleb Vieska and Alexander Searle will also be helping me out here through in and out of the evening. But let's send Connor on down to chat with some of the stars and what they did. There's always a little bit of gamesmanship when it comes to the shootout. And now, again, with MG Reds and MG Yellows, the alternates between everything is going to throw a big wrench into it. Caleb Vieska here joining me in the booth. Caleb, all right, looks like we are trying to batten down for the rain. We know the drivers are worried about it here, so let's have you and Alex catch us up from what you were able to take in as we go. Actually, Connor looks like he's already ready. Connor's got one here for us, Brent Cruz. So let's send it on down to you, Con man. What do you got?
Thank you. I'm here with Brent Cruz, the only driver that didn't even do a single lap out there for the warm-up session. Brent, kind of walk me through your strategy here, what you're seeing in the radar, and are you going to run these yellow tires for this heat race?
Yeah, I don't even think we made that call yet. I think we have a super fast piece. I think somewhere in the top 5, but just not quite enough to win. So, I mean, you're going to have to make some kind of gamble, right? Go away from the crowd, and if it works, it's going to be great, and if it doesn't, then at least we know we tried. I know we're going to have a good piece for the race, and we'll see what the rain does.
Yeah, Brent Cruz with a differing strategy here. We'll see if it plays out for him. But on to the next guy. We'll go talk to Joe Turney. He was the one that was lead. Ooh,
Connor, sorry about that here. Give me 1 second. We need to actually take all drivers from your interviews. All drivers are to report to the top of the grid for a instant drivers meeting right now. So we got to call all drivers up. Sorry, Connor. We got to send you back out of the area. All drivers need to make their way up to the top of the grid to talk to promoter Eric Jones here for a quick moment. It gives us time for one more word from our partners here. From this one, we'll take this commercial break during this drivers meeting and come back with more action from the IAME USA Grand National Championship. The warm-up is done. Heat racing is next for the MG Tires X30 Pro Shootout. Dusty Davis, Ernesto Rivera, please report to the top of the grid for your Fast Five, number $500 award ceremony.
Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana areas with products from Kart chassis, Tillotson Karts and Engines, IAME, Briggs, Honda, and more. They're now promoting race events as well throughout the mid and coastal South region at NOLA Motorsports Park and Finish Line Performance Karting in Biloxi, Mississippi. Races are already set for the fall of 2022. September 3rd, October 22nd, and November 12th at NOLA Motorsports Park, and 2 dates, September 10th and October 15th at Finish Line Performance Karting. Driver Line is set to finish this year strong.
All right, you know how to fucking record. Yeah.
You've ever gotten from this place, but it's been a while since you've gotten some money, so how about it? $500 here is the Fast Five winner. Who would you like to thank?
I want to thank RPM Motorsports, Ryan Perry. I actually used to race with Ryan when I was about 12 years old back in the day, and so it's kind of come full circle for me in my career and really enjoying it. He's been a huge help. My dad, Wrenchin, and then, Eric for throwing on the event with MG Tires and Kart Sport and IAME, and then Kart Chaser, man. You guys have killed it, and you guys have really changed the game for karting, so thank you.
Hey, well, we appreciate it. Congratulations, Dusty. $500. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, let's bring in our next winner here, Ernesto Rivera. Ernesto, well, we've had a lot of these interviews because you have had an amazing 2023, and it all kicked off back last year in Vegas. This was brand new. What was this experience like?
Yeah, it's really fun to race in night. It's like a really good experience, just like the seniors were doing it last year. So it's really fun for me, to race here at night, and really happy with the result.
You got that lead off of that one mistake Enzo made on that curb there. How tricky was that curb, and what was that like? Describe that moment when you're in second. Enzo was just as fast as you, and then he bobbles and you get the lead with 4 to go.
Yeah, I think Enzo was a little bit faster than me. I was about to pass him down on turn 2. He made a mistake. I passed him, and then 2 laps to go, he made another mistake, so it gave me a little bit of a gap.
Well, you've now got yourself another payday. You've got a lot of American dollars coming your way to take back home. How about it? $500 for a Fast Five winner in X30 Junior. Ernesto, who would you like to thank?
I want to thank Rollison Performance Group, Alex, Mike, Joni, my mechanic Kevin, and everyone who supports me.
And we know we make you speak in English a good bit, but I know that you've got a lot of supporters back home in Mexico. Would you like to say some words in your native tongue in Spanish to all your fans watching along?
Muchas gracias a todos los que me ven y a mi familia.
Awesome stuff. Ernesto Rivera, congratulations, my friend, $500.
Thank you.
Ernesto Rivera, our Fast 5 winner in X30 Junior. Now, we're going to make our way down the grid, but let's go to our shot from the back of the grid. That's now the front going this opposite direction. And take a look. As it is turned into a frenzy, the whistle was blown, and we've got the 10 minutes already well underway for kart work. All right, so here we are down. Look at the back of the grid. Now the front of the grid going the opposite direction. Lots of work and a busy grid area. You can see everyone's got crowds around them to work on the go-karts. We did have a driver's meeting that was given that if they have to go to wet tires, it's pretty much the mandatory MG red rule kind of goes out the window. So they had to start the night on MG yellows. If we stay dry, they will have to use the MG reds. But if for some reason the rain comes, you will be able to run just yellows, wets, reds, whatever you want to. You have a lot of combinations, and Heat 1's coming up. So, Connor, you've got Austin Garrison stepping aside, comes in as the number 2 seed, the Heat 3 winner, and he turned a couple laps at full speed. What does he think? What do you got, Con, man?
Yeah, you went out for a few laps there for the warm-up. You sat on grid for a little bit with Ryan and Paulie on grid with you. Kind of walk me through your strategy there. What was your plan on grid while you were waiting for those other 2 guys to go out?
So it seems now nobody really ran this track layout ever, just to go and kind of just brush all, the dirty track, because there's only one way the rubber line's going and you're entering in a different way. So just to kind of help, on that part. So for sure, we just waited. That's what we did. Yep.
Yeah. So obviously some strategy going into this. You went out there. Were you 100%? What was your kind of strategy on these MG yellows? Obviously you got to run them later in the night if the weather prevails. But kind of walk me through your strategy out there. Were you 100%? Were you trying to save your tires? What was going on?
So for the first few laps, I wasn't really pushing super hard. I was kind of just taking it easy to see what's going on with the track and see how it's going to go and be. On the last lap, last 2 laps, I started to go and push on it, and just to see what the kart has and if the gear was okay. That's why we came back here and made a couple adjustments. So we should be good.
Well, good luck out there. We'll be watching.
There you go from Austin Garrison as he makes his way back into his pit box, and we'll keep an eye on everyone else in the pit area. So, again, there is a benefit knowing no one has driven this track before. You heard from Dusty Davis. He had drawn up these cut-throughs a while back, and now we get to finally use them, which is so cool to see. So the frenzy continues down on pit lane. We'll see if we can get a tab on Connor here in a moment to see who he lines up next for the next interview in a moment. So we'll go down to him here when we are ready to go. But for Alex, from what you were able to witness, a lot of guys playing games, and a lot of guys were last second coming through the grass to get into the pit lane. They were racing to get off the racetrack.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, nobody really trying to push their tires too hard there, like you heard from Austin Garrison, right? Just taking it easy the first few laps, maybe putting together a semi-decent lap. But the biggest thing, like he mentioned, was really just clearing up the dirty part of the racetrack, right? Like he said, nobody's really driven this layout in this direction before. They've done it in the opposite direction, obviously, throughout the heat races, right? But the rubber's going to go the opposite way this time around. So really the biggest thing for these guys is just clearing up the racetrack, getting a feel for their go-kart, and maybe, seeing what they can do gear-wise and, setup change as well. But like Xander was saying there, a few drivers cutting through the pit lane entry last minute, just trying to, fake out a few drivers, saving their tires as much as possible here, doing whatever it takes. But like Xander said as well, I mean, it was just announced that with the weather in the area, if it does get announced as a rain race, the entire, rule of, running the MG red and yellows goes out the entire window. So we'll be curious to see what happens here coming up with these heat races for sure, Caleb.
Yeah, but for the moment, obviously everybody is pretty much bracing themselves for the rain here. But as it stands, it is going to be dry for our first heat race when we get going here in the X30 Shootout. So, yeah, definitely everybody's really frantic on the pit lane. I was walking by maybe some of the Kart Republic guys, obviously very frantic with Joe Turner's kart as well, kind of trying to put it together, obviously, after Joe Turner maybe giving a little back to his team, kind of breaking it down, see if they can change anything as well. But, yeah, definitely very, very, very frantic down the pit lane as it stands.
Yeah, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to here is Brent Cruz. He was the one guy that didn't go out there at all in that warm-up session, so he's going to have, if it does stay, dry as it stands right now, everyone's going to be on, whatever tire they choose, really. But Brent Cruz is going to have the freshest of the MG yellows, at least as it stands right now. So when it comes to that point, Brent Cruz, look for him to maybe make some moves through the field. But I think I heard Connor say at one point, right? It's one of those things where Brent's going to have to do a little bit of a different strategy because the pace really hasn't been there fully for him in the X30 class. It's been there, but last night in the shootout, like we saw, wasn't fully there. And again, tonight he probably didn't feel too confident, right? But even in the interview that we talked to him, he didn't really fully know the strategy even after the fact, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and obviously Brent Cruz, very surprising by him deciding not to go out. And let's see if that's going to pay out. Obviously, he was one to say that if it doesn't pay off, then it doesn't pay off, and he's going to know that he tried his best. Obviously, we have seen Brent Cruz, obviously, when it came to different strategies. I mean, Brent Cruz decided to go out on that rain tire earlier on in one of the earlier races. If I'm not mistaken, it was the X30 race where he decided to go on the rain tires, and obviously that did not go in his favor. Now, let's hope that Brent Cruz made the right decision.
Yeah, like you said, in the X30 race earlier today, made the wrong tire choice here, hoping his strategy call this time around pays off in his favor. We saw, like you said, with Brent Cruz being the one guy to not go out there, we saw a few drivers coming after about one lap or so. Brandon Carr is one of those guys. I think he was the first one to pit. Guys like Ryan Norberg took quite a few laps to even go out there and only did a few pace laps, should I say, right? And then there was guys like Joe Turney and DeTulio who were just, coasting around the racetrack, learning the track as best as possible here.
Yeah, definitely Joe Turney was one of the ones, and I believe Connor Zilich now is going to be joining us here in the booth at the moment. Here you go, Connor. Connor, I mean, talk to me a little bit about what you saw there on the pit lane. Obviously, very frantic. Everybody kind of frantic trying to get those tires on or whatever they're trying to do. Connor, talk to me a little bit about what you saw.
Yeah, I talked to Braden Eves. I didn't really get a chance to interview him. We had some camera difficulties, but I talked to him, and he said this is like one of the hardest tracks he's ever driven. So for those guys that did get a few laps to kind of practice it, are obviously going to be at a bit of an advantage here. We'll see how talented these guys are, though, because if you can pick up a track in 1 or 2 laps while everyone's still kind of battling, that's going to be the key. So we'll see how these guys do that got more practice versus less practice, as rain's still holding off here. So about 20 minutes ago, it said it was going to rain in 5 minutes. So you never know with this North Carolina weather what's going to happen.
Yeah, obviously. Connor, you've been here in this position as well. Talk to me a little about what it's like. Obviously, the pressure on the grid. What is it like whenever you have a hot grid like that?
Yeah, it's a high-pressure situation, and all these guys are feeling it right now, especially with the rain. That just adds more stress to these guys. You never know when the rain's going to come, what's going to happen. The skies are black, so we can't see any clouds. We don't know what's coming and what's going. So it's all a question mark right now, and as these guys get ready to get in their karts for the first heat race, they're got to be feeling some pressure. So we'll see how it goes, but it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and Connor, obviously with the different tire strategies into play here with the yellows and the red, I mean, if you were out there right now, what would you kind of be doing right now?
With the rain on the way, I would personally be running the yellow tire. I think it'd be a bit of a bold call to run your reds, and I mean, obviously some of these guys feel that they might be a little bit slower, so they might have to do a varying strategy to kind of gain some position on these other guys that might have that speed. But if it's me, I'm going out on the yellow tire and praying that it rains later on in the night so that you don't have to run those yellow tires in the feature, because the guy that's going to win the feature in the dry is going to be the guy with the least laps on their yellow tire. So personally, I'd be on the MG yellow, and just praying that it rains. But we'll see if we have some differing strategies here as we look onto the grid.
Yeah, obviously, and as well as Connor Zilich, I believe he's going to depart from the booth here at the moment. But Alex, I can't fail to mention the man himself, Austin Garrison. He seemed like he had so much confidence in that kart. Obviously, it hasn't been the best of weekends for him. In X30, I mean, he has been doing pretty good. Obviously, it wasn't the best weekend for him in KA, but now he seems super confident coming into this the shootout. His team seemed like one of the most relaxed ones out there on the grid at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Garrison in this first heat's rolling off in the 4th position here. Let's see if we can I want to see if we can get a camera angle here to see if we can see the different deferring tire strategies. Like Connor said, though, I'd be shocked to see anybody on the reds, especially with the rain on the way, right? If rain's on the way, the tire strategies go out the window because the rule is no longer in effect here. So I'd be shocked to see anybody go on the reds unless, they have a different radar than we do. But so far here, they're getting ready to go green with Justin Adekana going to lead them here.
Yeah, and I think Connor's actually coming back with a report on what tires are on at the moment. What do you got, Connor?
it looks as if there's 2 drivers on the grid with MG Reds on right now, and that would be Dalton Haynes and Alessandro DiTullio. Everybody else is on their yellow tire. Don't mind me, I'm out of breath. I just ran all the way down the grid to make sure I knew what these guys had, but only 2 guys on a varying strategy here, so we'll see how it plays out for them and see what the weather holds.
Well, let's take a look at the starting lineup here for heat number 1 in X30 Pro Seniors MG Tires $5,000 shootout. These heat races are just to line the grid for the main event. Nothing pays here. It only pays at the end of the night if you get into the top 3. Lightning is close. Rain is close, but we're on slicks to start, and as you mentioned here, 2 drivers on MG Reds. Dalton Haynes, who was our other one?
Dalton Haynes and Alessandro DiTullio. Dalton Haynes starting from shotgun on the field. He's last. So he's starting 15th on the red tires, the varying strategy. He'll have new tires. Oh, red flag.
That it is it. Lightning delay here. So the red flag comes out. And that will put us under delay as the Lightning was a little bit too close here on the storm. Right when we were about to go green on a dry racetrack in the field is going to red flag come into the pits. And just as you're locking in and ready to go here, Connor, you lose it and you have to get told to go back in. We've talked about this scenario so many times. This event already put so much tension in the air, so much stress on you as a driver, and now you were just ready to kind of get things going, and nope, false start, you come back in.
Yeah, unfortunate for these guys, especially the guys like Brent Cruz that had those new tires. Even though they only did a half a lap, that's still rubbing off that new tire. So put a heat cycle on his tires, and now he's going to have to come back in and doesn't even get a chance to shine on those new tires.
All right, so with the lightning delay, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to advise that everyone in the paddock, please take cover where you can and take care of your equipment. We're going to try and do the same. The lightning delay means we're running late into the night here at Trackhouse Motorplex, and this shootout just got a lot more interesting. Keep the stream on. We'll keep it on as long as we can, and we will try to keep ourselves as safe as possible as well, because the rain, the lightning, it's threateningly close. We want to make sure everyone is okay. So take cover here in the paddock. Stay tuned on the live stream. We'll keep you updated with more.
everything down.
All right, everyone, welcome back. For those of you tuning in live here, you've been waiting a long time for this one. Everyone in the paddock is amped up. We're ready to go. Connor Zilish is down on pit lane here, taking a look at the gander of what is about to happen. It is going to be an 8-minute qualifying session and then straight into the race. Everyone onto wet tires. The track is absolutely soaked, but the weather has moved on through. The rain has stopped. The lightning has moved on, and we are getting them on the grid right now, getting set to go green. Connor, let's go down to you. What have you heard on pit lane? There was a lot that happened while we were dark.
Yeah, we're here on pit lane. Guys getting ready to go out for their 8-minute qualifying session, which is going to lead into a 15-lap race. These guys got to get out there as quick as they can, figure out the track, figure out what the wet line will be. Obviously, nobody has ever run this track backwards before, so it's going to be new for everybody here as we get ready to go out in a sunken Trackhouse Motorplex. So we'll see what these guys are able to do. I know Joe Turney, the guy from the UK, he's going to know what he's doing. So it'll be interesting to see who's able to pick up on the rain line the fastest and gain some speed here as we're firing the motors. We got 1 minute till we go out, so we'll throw it back to Xander and get ready to go green here.
We'll continue to work on getting our cameras all up and running here for you folks. In the meantime, that grid camera, we'll send that one down as far as it'll go, down to the grid area to keep an eye on everything that's going on. The rain is picking back up once again. There it is following Ryan Norberg, Mr. 7-time. Everybody was worried about the inclement weather and what was going to happen here tonight. Well, now it's hit, and now it has changed the game again. It puts the drivers in a box under the most pressure possible. Alex, this is everything we could ask for from entertainment. It is everything they would hate to have here, as they already got only a warm session in the dry, only a couple of drivers turned laps. Now they're going into qualifying completely blind, wet setup, guess the gear, guess everything else, throw those MG wet tires on, and we go onto the racetrack now.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty dramatic qualifying session here. They're only going to get about 7 or 8 minutes or whatever the qualifying session may be here. Like you said, Xander, a few drivers, like Brent Cruz, opted not even to go out there at all and learn the racetrack. But whatever they learned in the warm-up session on the full slicks there is out the window completely here. A totally different racetrack now with how wet it is there, Connor.
Yeah, and one thing that's also different is the rubber when you're running the track forwards versus backwards builds in different places. So it's going to be interesting to see what these guys are able to find. And Joe Turney's leading the pack, kind of showing them what he's got. Honestly, if that were me, I wouldn't be the one to be the first one out because you're not able to learn from anyone in front of you. So bold strategy from Joe, but I know he knows what he's doing when it comes to wet racing, so we'll see if he's able to prevail.
Whoa.
Check it out already, Alessandro Di Tullio. Listen, we talk all the time about the Europeans and the Englishmen that have been able to weather the elements and understand what it's like here in wet weather as the rain picks back up. But also, Alessandro Di Tullio, the Miamian, he's racing the wet quite a bit. Dalton Haynes, the local kid, he knows what it takes to get around this racetrack in the damp conditions as he goes a little bit wide. And again, you talk about Florida man. How about Austin Garrison there in the 392? We know he's been fast in the wet. We know he's been fast in the dry. Let's see what we can learn from the opening lap as they round the bowl and rocket down the back straightaway backwards here at Trackhouse Motorplex for the X30 Pro Senior Shootout qualifying. Again, for those of you just joining us now after the lightning delay, we have decided to completely change the format and put all 15 drivers in the most uncomfortable position possible. They're going to qualify right here in the wet, and then from there into a 15-lap main event here, all for $5,000 as they head up the hill to that double right-hander. Here's a look at that black and white Speed Concepts Racing red speed of Austin Garrison. He leads the all-white Kart Republic of Dalton Haynes and the Chad Duncan Racing Kart Republic of Jacob Kolar, who also has a lot of wet weather experience from his time calling AMR Motorplex and Homestead Miami home.
Yeah, I mean, this is a true testament to the talent of these drivers here. I mean, this is everything you can ask for, like you said, Xander, on a brand new racetrack for a lot of these drivers, and then you throw inclement weather into the mix here. There you go. You have the likes of Austin Garrison and Alessandro Di Tullio out there, and like you said, Connor, Joe Turney, one of the guys to really beat here in the rain, especially him being from England. He's kind of pulled away from Di Tullio, but another guy here is really strong in the rain, Brandon Carr, who goes quickest there on one of the opening laps here in this qualifying session.
Yeah, how about that for the Ryan Perry Motorsport driver, Connor?
Yeah, they're the two UK guys are up at the front. Not a surprise to see here early on in the session as they kind of got a good idea of what the rain will do to this racetrack. So it's going to be interesting to see as this session goes on if these local American guys are able to figure out what these two are doing and kind of pick up on their strategy. As you can see, Brandon Carr and Joe Turney kind of using the inside line, utilizing the curbs to gain grip, whereas some of these other guys like Brent Cruz going to the outside of the track to try and find their grip. So differing strategies as we are early into this session, but we'll see as we go on what kind of prevails and what's going to be the fastest line as we build into this session.
Well, and again, that fastest line is going to continue to change, as you know very well, Connor, from your time both here in the States racing karts and abroad. With the rain going away, this track is only going to change every single lap. No worries about that. It's going to get faster and faster as crews high sides over that turn one curb that we know is going to be a trouble spot for many. In the infield here, there's Caleb Gaffera, who got alongside him, and Brandon Carr, who went around. But for Joe Turney, that was 2.5 tenths better than Brandon Carr that time by at the only driver below the 62nd.
A second and 4 tenths better that time by Xander.
Oh,
Actually,
you're right.
He's the only one below the 1 minute bracket, and there's not even anybody in the 1 minute bracket. Everybody below that is at a 1:01. So Joe Turney already over a second faster than the rest of these guys. I guess getting out front, getting that clean air helped him as he's able to kind of persevere through this weather.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give Brandon Carr some credit, though. I think that lap isn't a true testament to how quick he was. He passed about 3 go-karts that last time by. So this time around here, as Joe Turney, like you said, with the track getting a little bit better because the rain has stopped a little bit, so now the conditions will change every single lap. And Turney actually was a little bit slower there. Must have tried a few things or made a mistake. But this time around, we'll see what Brandon Carr can do. There he goes. Austin Garrison actually now takes the second spot away from Carr.
Garrison better, but again, like you said, Connor, everybody a second off the pace of Joe Turney. Look at the line here, such a non-traditional line than where
I was Alessandro D'Attulia at a 60.4, but as we can see, Paulie Massimino off to the side of the road looking under his go-kart. Something must have happened there.
Yeah, I don't know what broke for the BJR MDR LN kart driver, but Paulie Massimino in the 308. He nearly won his first X30 Pro race in the rain, was leading until the very end when Phil Arscott got around him back in 2020 when the season restarted with the U.S. Pro Kart Series at Newcastle in July. And he led a good part, outran his team owner, and driver coach and teammate at the time, in Brandon Jarczyk, now team owner, and drove away from him, drove away from a number of cars in the field until Arscott, the man from the Northwest, where it does also rain quite a bit, out of the RPG camp, and that time was on a Kart Republic. Drove up to him and got around him. Here's a look at Brian Boley, one of the locals here under the Rollison Performance Group banner as he rolls through. Austin Garrison, that time by, might have gone a little bit quicker.
Yeah, Austin Garrison, by the looks of it, did a 57.4, but I don't really know if I can believe that. Maybe something in the timing. Yep, as you can see, Austin Garrison must have come into the pits here. As we see Joe Turney, what we think is still the fastest kart on the racetrack, pulling away from the rest of these guys, still just trying to figure out the lines, and it looks like he's kind of found the same line all these laps, just out there turning laps. He's the only one that's been able to be consistent in the 59s, as Jakob Kohler also comes into the pits that last time by.
The only downside, again, for Joe Turney is that he is on the broadcast, and you can bet that every race team here during this break is going to be reviewing his fast time from our coverage to show their drivers, hey, this is the line you need to be taking. So, Joe, how much fast do you want to go to get that pole? And then also, what do you want to try and learn and try to hide? Because you can only hide so much. The cameras can follow him all the way around the racetrack. Looking into the pit lane here, quick adjustments already going to begin. Jacob Kolar will cue, but he cannot work on the car just yet with his Chad Dawkin Racing Kart Republic team as they work their way on in. So Kolar is in, and we'll keep a tab on who else he pulls in early. For the most part, the field still running laps as Kolar, again, his lap kind of off as well, but Checkers coming out now here, Connor.
Yeah, we just crossed the 8-minute mark in this qualifying session as Joe Turney still leading the field. He's still putting down faster laps, 59.4 that last time by. The next fastest guy on the track is Alessandro D'Attulia at a 60.4, but he's not even improving as we get into the later parts of this session. So Joe Turney's going to be one to watch as we get into this next race. Hopefully he doesn't just make a stink of it and we can have a good show here.
It's all going to be on the guys. How quickly can they swarm him on that opening lap, Connor? Again, you've been in that spot before. Alex as well. You know exactly what's coming, and so does Joe. They're going to try and get around him early and get him behind.
Yeah, that's the only thing they're going to be able to do. If you let him get out front here and let him get a gap early on in this session, it's going to be tough to catch up to him, especially with how fast he is in this qualifying session.
Yeah, I mean, how quick Turney was all session long, Connor. I mean, how much do you think is this a true showing of him, just being a Brit and being used to the rain, or is it just maybe part of it was set up, right? Maybe he just is so used to the rain over in England, he knows exactly what to change on the go-kart.
Yeah, I feel like they've got a good understanding of the go-kart, which definitely helps. Obviously, he has a mechanic from Europe here, and they spend a lot of time together, and they know the setup well, whereas some of these guys in America, they don't get as much time in the rain. So a little bit of a differing setup could help, but I still think Joe Turney is really just the better driver in this situation. And I've kind of felt the same thing here in America. I feel like the competition in the rain is a lot lower than in Europe. So Joe's kind of made his way up through the ranks in Europe and kind of understood what the rain does, and he's spent a lot of time racing in the rain growing up in the UK. So he's got a really good understanding of what the track does when the track gets wet.
Well, at this point, all he's got to do is keep the wheels on it and be smart, as he was the last one to cross the line. He'll be the last one to get ready. We'll send Connor down to pit lane to get a little more intel from all of our drivers. As you can see, there is Joe pulling his cart, the number 304, Chad Dockin Racing, Factory Kart Republic, pole position in qualifying for Joe Turney as he gets set for a 15-lap main to try and chase $5,000. And the gap there, his best lap at a 59.4. The next best, from what we could tell, was maybe in the 1 minute flats or 1 minute .1 there with Jacob Kolar. We saw Garrison go to a 1 minute flat, so he was only about a half second off. But again, only. That's how quick. Again, our pullman has gone to Tulio at a 1 minute .4. So you can see Connor Zilish getting ready to chat with some of our drivers here. We'll try and pull them aside and hear from them as the track will continue to dry, but it's definitely going to be all rain tires and a dynamic line lap by lap here from everyone. So let's walk on with the field through the grid and talk to them. Caleb Viesca joining us now in the booth. Caleb, what did you see from watching that session on the sidelines?
Yeah, of course. I obviously saw Austin Garrison come in early to the pits, and it seemed like his team was pretty frantic. I'm not sure if they were trying to get Austin Garrison back out on track or what they were doing, but to me it seemed like they were trying to get Austin Garrison back out on track, and it seems like the checker waved here. But yeah, definitely something to see by Austin Garrison. He did go polo, so yeah, it seems like he will be good to go when the race starts.
Well, we'll keep a tab on the camera as we'll go down to pit lane here shortly for more intel from our pit lane cam. In the meantime, again, like you said, that's interesting to hear from Austin Garrison's camp of them trying to get him back out. And also, don't forget here with the Kart recovery vehicle for Paulie Massimino, they're the last one that'll get in. Granted, they won't start the clock where the teams can work on the cars before, but they don't know exactly what's broken on that BJR MDRLN kart. So until he gets in, they can't exactly prep for the pit stop. Where the other teams, they can pull the kart into the box and they can have everything ready to work on as we see him go up the asphalt access road and make his way all the way down to pit lane to that BJR MDR pit spot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, speaking of Paulie Massimino, kind of a surprise qualifying session for him, for a driver who has a lot of experience around the Trackhouse Motorplex and most likely in the rain as well. I mean, for him to be, running back there in about 15th place with the lap times that he's showing is a bit of a shock there to me on the BGR Lando Norris kart for Paulie Massimino. Another driver that kind of surprised me was Dalton Haynes. I mean, he was a guy that has a lot of experience around this place, maybe not so much in the rain here, but for him to be, as much off the pace as he was compared to the likes of Turney and DeTulio up there in like the 1 minute flats and 59-second range, to be in the 102s, a bit of a shock there for the Kart Public driver there.
All right, let's go back down to pit lane here. Connor Zilish is going to be standing by with our pole award winner. Joe Turney sits from the point, and he is 15 laps away from potentially winning $5,000, Con man.
Yeah, I know Joe Turney's not going to share his secrets with me, but we'll get a word with him and kind of walk me through that session, how much the rain changed this track, and what you kind of feel going into this race.
Yeah, I mean, track's obviously completely different now. It was tough because obviously no one's driven that layout before and no one's driven it in the rain. So, I myself, but it wasn't too bad.
Well, that's good. I'll let you get the scales here and get scaled up before we go racing here. But obviously Joe Turney knows what he's doing in the rain, as he just put a bit of a stink on the show in qualifying. So hopefully in the race we'll have some newcomers that can find some speed and get up to the front of the field.
Paulie Massimino, obviously a DNF. He just went back behind Connor Zilish, and they've got to make their way over on through. I don't know if they're scaling them all, but it looks like they're scaling a good bunch out of the field in this one. Maybe at least the top five is normally the standard for the X30 Pro shootouts here presented by MG Tires. You see a few more coming from around the back. How about Brent Cruz there in the RPM Tony kart? He's just coming into the frame, so they got to bring them through the scale line, scale the karts, and then they'll blow the whistle when all the drivers are ready and staged in their pit areas to work on the machines. But looking through again, we've still got a moment to go before that gets underway. And for those of you, again, just joining us, this wild, wild turn of events has turned us in to an 8-minute quali session. Connor, we got you. We can see you. We see you with ADT, the man who was close in qualifying, the Miamian. What can we get from him, Con?
Yeah, the closest guy to Joe Turney in that qualifying session. You still got a second to go to get to his time. But what are you going to have to do in the race here to get in front of him?
Disinflate his tires. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, he's just really fast in the wet. So I'm going to try to stay with him, try to see his line in the race, and hopefully keep up. And, yeah, hopefully we could challenge for a win. But we know he's really quick in the wet, as he is in the dry. So, yeah, let's see.
You think there's going to be a level of aggression? You know, he's a lot faster, so you're going to try and get out front early and maybe shuffle him back?
Yeah, I mean, if I have the opportunity, yes, but at the same time, you know, Kart Republic needs to win, so we'll do it for the team.
So you'll do it for the team even with 5,000 on the line?
I mean, I'm gonna race him hard but clean. I'm not gonna be dirty. So just not only with him, with everyone. I try to race hard but clean, and if we could do it, we could do it. If we can't, we can't.
I respect that. Alessandro DiTullio, the closest man to Joe Turney in that qualifying session. Hopefully he can do something here in the race as we look towards the race. Most of the guys got their scales done, so everyone getting prepared. Not a lot of guys working on their go-karts. You'd be surprised when you're a second off. You'd think we're going to be doing something.
Let's see there, right off to your side. How about the kid from Key West behind you? Oh, what do you got, Connor?
They're not allowed to work on their go-kart yet, so
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Come on, Connor. You've been through this before. You know how it works. They blow the whistle once everyone's ready. While we're waiting on the karts to get worked on, how about it for Jacob Kolar, Connor?
Yeah, you obviously had a bit of a good session there. You got the fastest teammate, so are you going to kind of replicate his setup or try and ask for some tips from him, or are you just going to go back out there and try and wing it?
I mean, obviously I'm going to try and do my thing, but also I'm going to try to see what they can do, and because they're really good drivers, they're good in the rain, so I'm going to try to follow what they do, setup-wise too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. How much has this track changed with the wet weather? Obviously, you got a few laps there in the warm-up, but really, how much did it change when the rain came down? Is it a whole different track now, or did that warm-up kind of help you?
I mean, that warm-up helped a lot, but, I mean, the track's really different now with the rain. You just got to do a way different line, but it's fun still.
Well, good luck out there. We'll be watching. Hopefully, you can get up to the front.
There is the whistle. So now the frenzy begins on pit lane for everyone to begin to work on the go-karts. And quickly, everyone is going to go to town. There's a look at the Motaz Sport Camp. The number 338 Alonzo Kart machine of Tyler McIntyre. Team owner Jake Motaz going to work on the front of that motor to try and maybe make some more adjustments to it, as well as the right rear side of the go-kart. I think we're going to see a lot of guys have that right rear tire off. You can see there is a look at Brian Boley's number 325 RPG Cosmic. He was the last promoter pick, the random draw that got in. Here is Ryan Norberg, and Ryan obviously was one of the drivers that was trying to stay dry during this session, and after the meeting, after qualifying, he's standing by with Connor.
Yeah, I know you're loving this wet weather here, Ryan. Struggling a little bit for speed there. How much of the go-kart and how much of it's you?
It's both. I mean, obviously we have a lot to work on. Joe's fast, so we've got to figure something else out, but it seems like from everybody else back is relatively close. We definitely got some stuff to work on with the kart, and then we've pulled up some video and stuff, and so I should be able to fix my line, and we'll see from there.
Are you utilizing the Kart Chaser broadcast to kind of learn what Joe's doing out there, or are you talking about a different video?
Just Ben Cooper. I got a Brit on my side too, so we're gonna try and work that angle.
I hear you. Well, go watch the Kart Chaser stream. We had the camera on Joe a lot, and to all the drivers out there, it's free. You might as well use it.
Only free for today.
Yeah, only free for today. Of course, the main events tomorrow will be part of the KC exclusive premium membership. Here's some few more drivers. How about Brent Cruz? Connor, why don't you talk to him? We talked to him before. What do you think?
So this rain has changed a lot of things. Are you happy with the rain, or you wish it was still dry here?
I mean, I'll tell you after this final. I feel like we have pretty good speed. Just chasing that Kart Republic.
Yeah, he's obviously fast, but what do you think it's going to take for these guys to get in front of Joe and beat him? Honestly, he's the second fastest in the field, so do you think you got to race him hard, or are you guys just going to let him get out front and walk away with this one?
I start fourth, so it's going to be tough for me to get to him, but we'll see what my teammate does, and we'll see what second does. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, there's always mistakes to be made, right? It's possible for anyone, no matter how good you are in the wet or the dry. Those always come into play. And then knowing what the other guys are going to do, I have no idea.
Well, good luck out there. Hopefully you can get up there and challenge Joe and some of those other guys.
There you go from Brent Cruz as he works his way back over to his pit spot. Let's take that look at the wide cam. Here's a look at what it looks like on pit lane from the wide shot as well, from the back of the grid as Connor works his way around. Everybody quickly getting to work under those tents to continue to try and make improvements, make adjustments, change your gearing, change your kart setup, and, of course, review in that quick session what you can on your own driving line. So
while Connor works his way to find us some more drivers to talk to. That's the big thing. Everybody on the pit lane is, working on themselves, is learning from the stream, learning from their own onboard as quick as you can. You're under the gun time-wise, 15 minutes. We've got to look at where the results were for us. It's Turney by a second back to Alessandro DiTullio. Brandon Carr third, Alston Garrison fourth. Brent Cruz said he was fourth. Well, he actually ended up all the way down in ninth at the end of it, a 61.42. Eves eighth, Norberg seventh, Terlecki sixth. Ataconis in fifth, all the way down the order. Massimino was shorted a few laps. He ends up 13th, just ahead of Dalton Haynes and Brian Boley, who was the slowest in that one, 3 seconds back. It's a big spread. Everybody chasing the Englishman. Here's a look down to pit lane, Connor.
Paulie Massimino ended that session early on the front straightaway here. What happened out there? I mean, you were kind of making up some ground there for a second, and then you were stopped on the front straightaway. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, I finally got by Collard, and I was just kind of following Carr, and I felt like I was starting to pick up the pace a little bit. At first, I was just trying to figure out different things, and I knew, like, towards the end, then I would start going back to what I thought was the best. So, the skid plate kind of folded under the chassis, so I couldn't go much farther than that. But a little disappointed because I felt like Carr and those guys weren't too much faster than me. Obviously, Joe is where Joe is, but other than that, I felt like I was pretty quick once I started getting into the rhythm.
A lot of emotion out of Paulie Massimino there. He'll be starting a little bit further back in the field, but he feels like he's got some pace to make it back up to the front. So we'll see. All these guys are talking about Joe Turney, the man of the hour. He's the fastest guy, a second clear of the field. We'll see if some of these guys are able to get out front and maybe challenge him for the win here for $5,000.
Check this out here down on the track. You can see that the rain has come back. We thought we were clear of all the wet weather. Well, the sprinkles continue. The track was starting to continuously get faster over the course of that session. It is now potentially getting a little bit worse for wear. Let's go back into the pit lane area. Here's a close look at a couple of drivers. How about on Jacob Kollar's Chad Duncan Racing Kart Republic? Flashlights on as there's his dad there down below in Jiri trying to get the tire back on and put everything back together and send it on out with a quick gear change. And I don't think there's anything else going on there. That's all you're probably going to see for a lot of them. Daz, they're only 10 minutes here. There's not a lot you can do to a go-kart in 10 minutes, Caleb.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, racing in the rain myself, you realize that there's not much you can change when it comes to the rain. Maybe gear is all.
Let's go down to Austin Garrison, who was decently quick, pulled in with a couple laps to go. Connor?
So you pulled in a few laps early there. What was the reason for that? What do you think of the rain, and what do you think you got for the feature?
Well, it's raining, so it's wet. And my airbox cover came off, and I sucked up a bunch of water in my motor, so that's solid. That's why I pulled in.
Did you not have an airbox cover on it?
I did until it flew off on the straightaway.
Well, that's a good use for that. So we'll get the airbox cover back on it, and hopefully Austin Garrison can make up some ground.
Yeah, buddy.
Joe Turney, though. The guy, the man of the hour. He's way faster in the field. What are you doing to make up time to him? Do you think there's anything that you can do to get up to his speed?
If I had a jetpack on the back of my go-kart down the straightaway, I can maybe sniff a draft and pass him. That's about it.
Wise words here from Austin Garrison as he's looking to make up some ground and hopefully get up to the front in this feature. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
There you go from the man for Speed Concepts Racing. You heard it. He needs to put a jetpack on that thing. He does start fourth even with the lack of laps on the racetrack, so impressive enough. Let's take a look at what the timer is here. There is race director Justin Dittrich. 3.5 minutes is the time remaining for them to continue working on those go-karts to get down on the grid here for the MG Tires X30 Pro Shootout for $5,000. So 3 minutes left to make more adjustments before we get set to go green. Connor's looking for more to talk to. Let's check in with him.
We got one more interview here. Brandon Carr, the closest guy to Joe, or the second closest guy to Joe Turney. You're an Englishman. You've raced in the rain before. What's it going to take to get up to his speed?
Yeah, we just need to improve off where we were in quali. We just kept getting better and better every lap. So I think we'll be fine. Just learn what he does on the first couple of laps and hopefully be there at the end and see what happens.
You think it's going to be some level of aggression out there to try and get in front of him? Obviously, he's got a lot of speed. So if you let him get out front and let him pull away, he might just make a stink of the race. And you're here racing for $5,000. So you got to try and get to the front. Is there going to be some sort of level of aggression there?
Yeah, there's gonna have to be to make sure you get that pass done and try and get a gap. But it's the rain. Anything can happen. You could spin. You could do anything. So we don't know until the end. But we should be fine. We should be able to stay with him.
Brandon Carr is going to try and make moves here to get up to the lead. Wish him luck, and hopefully he can join his Englishmen up on the front of the grid.
Yeah, thank you, Connor. And I think Xander's headed that way at the moment. As I think we have some breaking news. I think there's a big purse on the line here, Alex. I think, Xander's right there in the background. You can see him. I think a little bit of words are going to be said by Xander here in a couple of moments.
Yeah, for sure. Like we heard there from Brandon Carr as well, though. Brandon Carr said that he's constantly improving his line throughout the session there, and I think we're going to get
there
ready
he goes. He has Joe
soon.
Turney. Connor, get the mic over there. There you go.
There we go.
All right, everyone. We're down on pit lane. I hope we can hear. The whistle's going. It's going to get quiet for 1 second because we have one special announcement. Joe Turney, you were nearly a full second faster than the field. You know you start from pole. There's $5,000 if you win it for a $2,500 bonus, a $7,500 payday if you go to the rear right now. What do you say?
No chance.
No shot? Oh, come on. Joe Turney wants that $5,000 that bad. That it is. He had $2,500 on the option to go to the rear. He says no. We go back to the grid and back to you guys in the tower. But hey, we gave him the option.
Yeah, thank you, Xander. The option was there indeed. Alex, tell me about it. If you're Joe Turney in this situation, what are you doing? He's a second faster than the lead. Are you going for that extra money here?
No shot. I knew he was going to say no the second I heard the news there. I mean, there's just no way. You got 15 laps to make up 15 positions in inclement weather. Anything can happen, like Connor said. No matter how fast you are in the rain, anything can happen. With a guy of his caliber, the mistakes are still possible. And with the rain, right, it's really difficult to pass as well. Like we saw in some of the rain racing we saw earlier today as well, right? It's one of those things where you can spin so easily. It's not worth the extra bit of prize money there. I mean, I bet the other drivers wish he said yes, but there's no shot Joe Turney's taking that.
Yeah, of course. If I'm Joe Turney here, I mean, the British Revolution is well in play here. He has been perfect almost all weekend long, and in the rain, this is a strong suit. If I'm Joe Turney in this situation, I think Xander's joining us now. If I'm Joe Turney in this situation, you can tell me a little bit here about it, Xander. If you're Joe Turney, I'm going to ask you now. You drove in the X30 class. If you're Joe Turney, what are you doing? You're a second faster than the rest of the field.
Look, man, all right, there's only about 5 to 7 drivers in North America that get paid to drive a go-kart. Right now, Joe Turney is one of them.
Yeah.
He's already got the paycheck coming. I know he wants money. He's got a good shot at the money, but look, this is legendary stuff, all right? It's one thing to get the cash prize if he gets it. I get where he's coming from. He knows he's got a safe shot at the lead if he's able to lead him to green and get away early for that $5,000. But if you go from dead last to win, I mean, that is the stuff they write books about. So if Joe Turney would have taken it, obviously everybody wants to say, I would have taken it. How about let's bring in Connor Zilish in here, and let's ask the man that is a Rainmaster, because I can't claim that I was. I haven't walked the dog in an X30 Pro main event or a pre-final or any session in the rain where I've been a second faster. But Connor, you have been exactly in Joe Turney's shoes. Well, about as close as anyone else has been. A second up on the field. Someone offers you 50% of the purse to go to the rear. Are you going to the rear?
No. I need more than 50% of the purse here. 7,500 is nice, but 5,000 is also nice. And when 5,000 comes a lot easier than starting at the rear of the field. So if it were me, I'd be in the same position as Joe here. If it was 10 grand to start from the back, I'll take it because I'm a second faster in the field. I got confidence in my go-kart, and I'll take that risk. But for only 2,500 extra, I'm going to have to start at the front and just, I mean, hopefully he doesn't make a stink of this. But if it were me, I'd be feeling pretty confident if I were him.
Well, I can say one thing. If he gets punted off the racetrack in the first corner, he's going to be hoping he went to the back of the field, though. But nonetheless, there's a look into the eyes of the Englishman that sits 15 laps away from being potentially the first X30 Pro Shootout wet race winner. $5,000 on the line for Joe Turney and company here. Alexander Searle, Caleb Vieska, Connor Zilish, and myself have been calling all the action all night. For those of you on the viewers, over 45% of you voted believing that Joe can get this one done. We've seen the Fast 5 shootouts, but everything completely changes. The closest challenger is the man on your screen. The man that was leading the fan vote ended up racing his way in. Alessandro Di Tullio and that pink and chrome International Motorsport Kart Republic. What's going through his head right now? He came out of qualifying feeling like he was better, knows that he's got his chassis teammate with him. He's finally on what looks to be hopefully a good home after having to bounce around teams and manufacturers throughout the early part of this year. He doesn't want to make the guys at Kart Republic unhappy, but he also wants to get himself some extra cash, so he knows what the deal is for him. And it'd be more interesting probably to see a guy maybe like Brent Cruz in second, or maybe Brandon Carr in second behind Turney. But with the single file start, I don't know if we'll see any fireworks out of ADT, Connor.
Yeah, he's going to have to do something because Joe is so fast. And Alessandro started that qualifying session right behind Joe, tucked up behind him, and Joe just drove away from him flat out. So he's going to have to do something here in the early stages of this race if he wants a chance at winning. Or maybe even if he can follow him and learn some things and keep up with him, that'd work too.
Yeah, I mean, if you can learn early, maybe you got it.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much I think he can learn here. I mean, Joe Turney has so much more experience than ADT, even though, the Florida native there has a bit of rain experience himself, but Joe Turney notoriously super quick in the rain. Like you said, Connor, ADT started the session there, right behind him, tucked behind his bumper, and I think he ended up about 4 corners behind him there. Not even the same camera view as Joe Turney. So, and we heard from the interview as well, like when you asked him, even with $5,000 on the line, are you going to be his teammate? He said yes, right? So it's one of those things where I don't think we're going to see much of a move here from ADT.
All right, but you can't say no in that situation, right? You can do what you want, but we've seen it from NASCAR come down on guys on interviews, right, Connor? But they might still do something a little different and kind of keep their real thoughts from us.
Yeah, you're never going to tell your true strategy to the TV. So I'm hoping for a little bit of a different. I guess a different strategy on track than Alessandro told me, but he knows he has to do something. He's an experienced racer. He knows how fast Joe is and what it's going to take to win this race. So I really got a lot of faith in Alessandro here. I think he's gonna try and find a way by him in the early stages, and you got to shuffle the guy back. You can't. He's obviously Joe knows what he's doing. He's won European Championship races. He's won everything there is to win. So he knows what he's doing when it comes to racing. But also, these guys behind him are racing for $5,000. So who knows what they'll do to shuffle him back here in this race.
It's no different, really, than where everybody else felt for the majority of 2022 and 2021 a little bit as well with Ryan Norberg and the dominant run that he was. The target was on his back. Well, at least in all those races, for the most part, they were points-paying races, and there was a little more kind of hanging on. But for this one, there is no points. There is no race tomorrow based on what happens right now. It is $5,000 and 15 laps, and that's it. So anything goes here to try and at least get by to a degree. The race directors and the officials are on the racetrack, but like we've heard, they've got to get Joe Turney to the rear. So let's send him on out and take it to the starting lineup for your X30 Pro MG Tire Shootout, the 3rd edition of this Saturday night $5,000 big payday. Joe Turney was on the pole again, as we mentioned, by nearly over a second to Alessandro Di Tullio. It was another 4/10 back to starting 3rd for the Ryan Perry Motorsport Tony Kart of Brandon Carr. Austin Garrison starts 4th, and again, hopefully he's still got some horsepower after the rain airbox cover came off and he sucked in a ton of water. Justin Atakonis will start in 5th. Nicholas Terlecki will start 6th. Ryan Norberg 7th. Braden Eves in 8th. And problems for Alessandro Di Tullio on the opening lap. Engine issues for the International Motorsport Kart Republic. He's off the racetrack and out. Di Tullio into the pit lane.
Yeah, he must have sucked up some water in the qualifying session and just now found out. So that's really unfortunate for him. The closest guy the closest guy to Joe Turney in qualifying is out of the race. So if I'm Joe Turney, I'm sure he knows what's going on. You got to be feeling pretty confident right now.
I would think so, but then again, you heard Di Tullio's interview saying he was going to take it easy on you, and Brandon Carr was not. So as they exit out of turn number 1, I don't think we're green already, are we?
No, we're not green yet. We got one more pace lap. Joe Turney, though, on this pace lap, one thing I noticed, he's not driving the line he drove in qualifying. He doesn't want to show these guys where he's going. In qualifying, he was driving the low line through this corner right here. So he doesn't want to show these guys what he's got until the green flag drops.
Smart enough, but again, Brandon Carr is not a chassis teammate, an actual teammate to Joe Turney at all. Neither is Austin Garrison. We know how hungry Brandon Carr has been for an X30 Pro victory. He's got 2 OKN Stars, one OKN Stars victory to his name here this season, and he's looking to get his 2nd Pro National.
We got one more kart
win.
not starting the race. Brent Cruz's chain came off before the green flag even came out, so Brent Cruz is out before this race even started.
Well, they're coming to the start box here. Brandon Carr, you're lined up behind the guy that might walk away as they get to the start zone. Joe Turney can go anytime here. He goes now, and look at the jump. He gets off the line. Huge jump for Joe Turney as they rocket through the double right.
Yeah, and that already signals a setup difference in these two guys' go-karts. Either the carburation is different or the gear is different, as Joe Turney's already got a 4 kart length gap, and we're not even to the 3rd corner yet.
Yeah, look at that. He's long gone. Everyone is skating around, and Joe Turney is already racing his way towards $5,000. Brandon Carr second as they head down to turn number 1. We'll start the lap counter. Put the ticker on the left-hand side of your screen to let you know where your favorite driver's at as they try to battle here to get themselves at least into the top 3 podium for the money.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go talk to Eric Jones right here and tell him we need a competition caution at halfway in this race, because at the looks of this, Joe Turney's going to drive away, and especially with these guys racing hard for second, Joe's loving what he's seeing behind him.
Well, Austin Garrison looks like that motor's okay. He's up to P2, got around Brandon Carr. Justin Ataconis is challenging Carr as well, but Turney is long gone as they come through the double left for the first time.
Yeah, I think we need a trophy here for best of the rest already, because lap 1, Joe Turney not even in the same frame right now as Florida man Austin Garrison, who's holding off the Brit, Brandon Carr. This is going to be a really good race here, Connor, though, for P2, I think.
Yeah, I think Eric Jones may have a trick up his sleeve. At least I hope he does, because this is going to be a race for second. As Brandon Carr's already fallen back, we talked to him, and he felt like he had a pretty good feeling. And going into this, he's one of the British guys. He races in the rain a lot, but as we can see here, he's already fallen back. But Justin Ataconis, kind of a sleeper pick. We didn't talk to him. He's already up into the 3rd spot. Brandon Carr already over the rumble strips there. So Justin Ataconis, a sleeper pick. He's already up into the 3rd spot. We didn't talk much about him. He started this race further back in the 5th spot, but he's already up into 3rd, and he looks like he has some pretty good speed, so maybe he can make something of this.
Well, at least for Austin Garrison, he's pulling away. But again, like you said, super impressive stuff from the man in 3rd, Justin Ataconis. There's the gap already to the lead. Joe Turney long gone as he climbs the curbs. Austin Garrison can only watch from way back as Ataconis has Brandon Carr still on his bumper in the middle of the field. He'll exit that infield corner and work his way to the double right. And coming out here to put 2 laps on the boards, make it, 3 laps technically with 12 to go. Joe Turney will lead them around the back hairpins, and it'll be 12 laps remaining. What kind of lap does Joe do across the line while these guys come out of the back hairpins? Final turn, Ataconis, a little bit of an alternate line to Austin Garrison. That time by
Joe Turney over a second faster than Austin Garrison. He's pulling away right now. He's got a 3.5-second lead, and we're only on lap 3. So if this continues, he might lap up to 2nd place.
It would be wild to see something like that. He's got a long way to go to get there here on a minute-long racetrack. But, again, super impressive for Justin Ataconis to literally only have a test weekend. And his last time in the go-kart at all was in November of 2022. That is a long time to be out of the seat. And for the rain, that is really the biggest test to me of the last, the kind of natural seat of the pants feel. It's one thing to be slow on Friday, slow on Thursday in the dry, and use the data, use the video, study other drivers' lines, and catch back up. But to be able to go by yourself in the wet here like Justin is doing and run 3rd, that's super impressive and shows the talent that he is and the guy that was the only guy to challenge Ryan Norberg in last year's main event.
Yeah, really impressed by Justin Ataconis. He hasn't been in the go-kart a lot. This is his first race this year back in the X30 Pro Division. He hasn't even been in a kart at all. He's going off to UNCC to go to college. He came back to do this race for fun before he really gets back into the swing of things in school. And to run up front at this race is really impressive and just shows the talent that he has.
Brandon Carr able to get back around him, though, as he starts to roll. Austin Garrison getting faster. He was within a second of Turney's time that time. Look how long gone Austin Garrison is there in second as Ataconis and Carr run wide. Let's check a little further back down the leaderboard here while Turney works his way through that infield turn 1. You go back, there's second Austin Garrison. There's 3rd and 4th Brandon Carr and Justin Ataconis having a good battle. Closing in there, he's trying to close, is Nicholas Terlecki, who's having an impressive run, and he's had a good weekend so far to this point as well. There is Paulie Massimino. Keep in mind, Paulie started 13th after braking and qualifying with the skid plate. He is rolling right now on the BJR MDR card. In fact, that entire team right now is 3rd, 6th, and 7th with Paulie moving forward.
Yeah, Paulie's the closest guy speed-wise to Joe Turney. On lap 3, he ran a 60.5, only 0.6 off Joe Turney's fastest time, and it feels silly to be saying he's the closest guy to him, but that's the truth here. And I'm guessing Joe Turney right now is kind of wishing he took that extra $2,500 purse, because right now he's the fastest guy on the track by still over 0.4 of a second.
Granted, it is a whole lot harder to pass in the rain. It might be a little easier for a guy like him that it's got a different line, but Paulie Massimino's making it look easy. He gets around Nick Terlecki, and Paulie Massimino, after being the driver that should have at least finished no worse than second last night and ended up out of the money, is on his way to getting into the money here tonight as he chases further up the field through the original turn number 1. What a great run in the works for Paulie Massimino on the 308.
Yeah, Joe Turney, I'm guessing, is starting to ease off the pace and kind of just keep it on the track because he knows he has a 5-second lead. There's no point in pushing it 100% and driving off the track, making a mistake that can cost you your race. So if he's smart, he's backing off, taking his time, and just making sure he's maintaining his gap.
Connor, I gotta ask really quickly, though. I mean, if you're one of these drivers, like maybe P8 on back, and you're really not in the mix to be in the money, do you kind of just park it right now and risk using up your stuff for tomorrow's races?
No, as a racer, you're going to stay out and try. You never know what happens. What if Eric throws a caution flag with 2 laps to go here? You never know what can happen. Eric, you hear me? I hope you can hear me here because we need it.
It would be fun to see, especially with how much Paulie Massimino's worked his way up the leaderboard to 5th. Still a great battle for 3rd between Brandon Carr and Justin Ataconis. Beyond Massimino and Nicholas Terlecki, there is 7th and 8th, the battle here. Braden Eves also started around mid-grade. Caleb Gaffera a little further back. The fan vote winner doing a great job as the senior rookie, the highest running rookie in the pro class, is working his way towards the top 5 right now on the number 354. He's ahead of Braden Eves, who was one of the top contenders back in Newcastle 3 weeks ago. And behind Eves there, another rookie, or a sophomore, in Jacob Kolar, who was good, it looked like, in warm-up and was good in the initial dry warm-up as well, has been so impressive through the heats here today in the dry. He's now challenging fellow Kart Republic driver here for the 8th position.
Yeah, a solid run there for Jacob Kolar throughout the heats yesterday and today, and pretty solid showing so far here in the rain as he's hunting down Braden Eves, a guy who's been notoriously pretty good in the rain in his past, and a veteran in the senior category here, as Brandon Carr, one of the drivers that we've expected to be pretty quick. He's gotten back around Justin Ataconis now, so solid run for the RPM driver there in 3rd. Austin Garrison, still the only man to really be close to Turney's times. Actually, Paul Massimino has put in a 1 minute .4, so now, a pretty solid showing for Massimino up there in P5.
Yeah, one guy we're looking at right here, Ryan Norberg, running in 10th place right now. Not the best showing from him. Your winner from last year. He started 11th and made his way all the way up to the win last year. He's kind of just staying stationary here in 10th right now, not really making up any ground to the leaders. His fastest time is a 61.2, over a second off the pace. So I'm wondering if it's him. I know he struggles in the rain. He's been very vocal about it, and he knows that it's one of his weak points. So kind of just showing us here now, he can't really make up any ground to these guys back in 10th place.
He's doing what he can, to be fair. Here is a look at 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Brandon Carr has found some time. He picked up 2/10 on Austin Garrison last time by. Justin Ataconis back in 4th there is losing a little bit, trying to follow the line of Carr, but Brandon Carr is moving. Paulie Massimino may stall out around in 5th, but Austin Garrison's not home free for 2nd as he heads down the hill, just being trailed about a 1.25 seconds back by Brandon Carr.
Yeah, I mean, a solid run for Brandon Carr here. He's turned the wick up just a little bit here, has the Brit, but I mean, nowhere near the pace of Joe Turney. And Turney has it's funny to say that Turney's actually turned it down a little bit because he's still the quickest guy on the racetrack, doing 1 minute flats. The only guy to see underneath the 1 minute mark through the entirety of this shootout event here. But Turney not even trying really anymore, it seems like, has an 8-second advantage with about 5.5 laps to go here as Austin Garrison running P2 has a 1.5 second advantage, but makes a big mistake there actually, I believe, in turn 1. The gap's going to close quite a bit here to Brandon Carr now.
Yeah, I think at this point in the race, Joe could spin out and still win. He's leading by 9 seconds. And Austin Garrison last time by ran a 61.1. Joe Turney a 59.9, reset the purple lap time. And when you watch the guy, it doesn't even look like he's going that fast. I mean, he's so cool, calm, collected. Got the cart underneath him at all times. You watch some of these other guys, Austin Garrison, Brandon Carr, using all the track, rumble strip, working really hard to try and make their speed, but they just don't have the speed that Joe Turney has.
Yeah, I mean, can we put that $2,500 purse back on Turney if we do a spin and win?
That would be cool. Or if we allow him to let at least a couple guys by or something. But nonetheless, here is a look at the leading man. 5 laps to go. 5 more laps for Joe Turney to bring it home and get himself a $5,000 payday. Behind him, Austin Garrison, we mentioned here, is still getting hunted by Brandon Carr. But for the race leader, again, you can see it, Connor, just so smooth. He has it so dialed in right now as he heads to the bowl.
Yeah, and you can see him as he came across the line that time. working on the needles. I doubt he's looking for speed. I'm guessing he's giving the motor some more fuel so that he doesn't blow up. I see that happen in Europe. Some of these guys, when they get a really big lead, will start either giving the airbox more or choking the airbox, giving more fuel to the motor, or even here you got the needles to work with. So giving the motor some more fuel just to be sure. He's got a 10-second lead. He doesn't want anything to go wrong. He's trying to do everything he can to keep the race in his hands. I'm guessing I wouldn't be surprised if he starts staying off curbs here as we get with 5 laps to go, just to mitigate the risk of losing a chain or something going wrong here with only 5 laps to go.
Again, like you said, big lead, 10 seconds. You can just put it on cruise control and let it run to the finish. For the update on second and third, let's take a look back here. Third and fourth, Justin Ataconis has kind of gotten the second wind. He's closed back up to Brandon Carr. Paulie Massimino's closing in on them as well. So look at Ataconis to the low side into the final turn. He continues to try and run that alternate low line in the hairpin coming onto the front stretch, and it's not too bad for him. So Justin Ataconis searching for more speed to try and hunt back down Brandon Carr, who was making up ground on Austin Garrison, and then over the last couple laps has faded backwards. Paulie Massimino still the second best on the racetrack. He had a 60.3 last time by. That was nearly a second better than the guys in front of him, but he kind of stalled out for a few laps, and now that he's found speed again, he's running low on time. 4 to go.
Yeah, Joe Turney, another really impressive thing about him is his lap times. His lap times have all been within a 59.9 to a 61.1, all within 2/10. And in the dry, that's pretty usual out of these really professional X30 Pro guys. They are very consistent and they can make the same lap times in the dry. But to do that in the rain is so impressive because it really adds a lot of. I mean, it takes the talent out of the drivers here to be consistent in the rain and to be able to make speed in the rain. So as you can see, Brandon Carr here starting to kind of defend for this third spot on Justin Ataconis.
Yeah, he's feeling the pressure now. Ataconis is there. Little mistake as he high sides on the curb, though, coming out of turn number 1. So Ataconis loses ground. Carr having to go low, lost some time to Austin Garrison. 2.5 laps remaining as they exit the bowl this time.
My shoe. I was about to go throw my shoe on the track. I need a red flag or something here.
Look, man, we don't just throw debris cautions out here, all right? We watch them come down the hill. Brandon Carr chasing Austin Garrison, getting chased by Justin Ataconis, and just a few laps too late looks like it'll be for Paulie Massimino to get into the top 3. Such a great run he's put together. Another good lap last time by. Pulled him within half a second as Tyler McIntyre has nosed the wall. Tyler McIntyre on the Motaz Sport Alonso kart has pile drived the outside retaining wall going into the bowl. And Connor waving for a green-white checker caution.
We need a caution here. That guy, maybe he's hurt. You never know.
We're not going to get it, I don't think. Across the line, this time by. 2 laps to go for the rest of the field.
Yeah, 2 to go here for Austin Garrison. Brandon Carr makes a huge mistake. Oh, Brandon Carr, he's the last spot in the money here. That gives Justin Ataconis a second hope here to get back in the money.
Yeah, I'm guessing Joe Turney's wishing he took that extra 2,500 right now. He's got a 13-second gap on the field, still running times within this 1 minute mark.
Look at this. Look at this. Ataconis, late move on the inside. Oh, man, there it is down the inside. Clear for third. Justin Ataconis is through as they come down the hill.
Oh, Brandon Carr Justin missed that curb there, got out of the groove, and Brandon Carr is going to get right back by. This is the battle for the last money spot. So as little as this may seem, we're still racing for, we're making mistakes every corner.
Carr wide. Here comes Ataconis back into third. Austin Garrison is safe. They're coming to the white flag. Brandon Carr is struggling for grip as he's gone offline. Justin Ataconis getting away. Look at Paulie Massimino coming into view, trying to get to fourth, maybe to third. He's just going to come up shy from, I think, getting to his teammate, but he's on to Carr on this final lap here in the three-way battle. Carr blows the corner again. Off the racetrack for Brandon Carr, but he holds on to fourth.
Yeah, Massimino kind of gave him the hand there. I think Massimino helped Brandon Carr go wide there and actually give him the spot back. So good sportsmanship there from the Lando Norris driver, Paulie Massimino, but both of them are going to fall back behind Justin Ataconis, who's kind of in the clear now in the money for P3.
Well, final time through for Joe Turney. We offered him a little bonus. He said, nope, I want to take the safe route. And, well, either way, he's walking out of here with some money, leading every lap, dominating. Joe Turney on the Chad Dawkin Racing Kart Republic will round turn 11 and 12, and out of the hairpin, Joe Turney wins $5,000 as he gives us some sideways donuts coming across the line.
Yeah, really impressive from Joe. I mean, you can have the perfect setup, have the perfect engine. Oh, we got a battle for, no, this is for fourth. This is out of the money, but still a battle for first position here from these two guys. great showing of sportsmanship. Paulie maybe have moved him in the beginning of that last lap, but gave him the spot back as they race to the line here. But Joe Turney, let's talk about this. Gets the lead, qualifies on pole by a second. You know, the pressure's got to be getting to him. He doesn't know what can happen in the race, but he set sail and just walked away from these guys. 13.2 seconds, and he was even driving pretty easy those last few laps. So just a true showing of his talent as he can walk away from the field and walk away $5,000 richer.
Well, I know that he feels relieved, but I think that might have been the most nervous I'd seen Joe Turney down on the grid when Joe smiled and said, "No shot do I go to the rear of the field." I think he felt the tension in the air of everybody else wanting to get around him, but Joe Turney ends up as the winner in this one. So we'll take a look here as he works his way through the scale line over to it, just to make sure that'd be the only way things change if he comes in underweight. But how about it for the Chad Duncan Racing Kart Republic of Joe Turney? Everyone else comes on in. Braden Eves and Ryan Norberg, they find each other again. They've found each other a couple of times over the last month or so. And they end up nose to tail, 9th and 10th at the end of it. There's Austin Garrison, 2nd place, decent payout. Best of the rest, unfortunately, for the 392. And for Justin Adaconis, what a night, what a weekend to get himself back in the seat and know that he still has it 1 year later.
Yeah, I mean, impressive showing there from Justin Adaconis. Like you said, Xander, to not be in a go-kart since really last year Grand Nationals and really not driving in the rain since, you know, whenever he last drove in the rain, obviously much longer than 8 months for him. So a seat of the pants feel is certainly not left him for sure there. But I got to ask you guys really quickly, I mean, with the pace we saw from Joe Turney, do you think he would have been able to go from last to first?
I definitely think he would have. I mean, just a second a lap faster than these guys, pulling away from them every single lap. I think he would have been able to, but he's walking out of here with $5,000 and a smile on his face. So hard to regret that decision, but I wish I could have seen that because it would have made for an interesting race for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if these drivers knew, you know, the pace that Joe Turney had, which they saw in qualifying, I'm sure one of these guys would have had something to say about it while he was driving through the field for sure here. As Caleb Viesca now joins me back in the booth. Caleb, I mean, what did you see watching that race from the outside there?
Thank you, Alex. Am I on? Yeah, I think I am on. All right, thank you very much, Alex. Yeah, I mean, Joe Turney, obviously, I was asking you before this race. I asked, would you go to last if you were Joe Turney 1 second faster? I obviously wasn't able to give my answer, but if I was Joe Turney, I would have gone to the tail end of that field, worked my way up, and I would have won $7,500 here at the end of this at the end of the day. But obviously, Joe Turney played it safe, had a great start, and it was a masterful drive. And the worst of it all, Alex, that the British Revolution continues. Joe Turney has almost been perfect all year long, and that just keeps going here today.
Yeah, I mean, super impressive stuff from Joe Turney. I mean, it's hindsight, right? The pace was shown there in qualifying, but you don't really know if you don't know what's going to happen in the race, right? And I think in Joe's mind, he'd take I don't want to say the guaranteed 5K, but a pretty guarantee for him with the pace that he showed in qualifying. The 5K was there, and so for the extra $2,500 starting from last, there's too many risks in play with the inclement weather, and other drivers maybe not wanting to let him by so easily. So I don't blame him there for not taking the risk, even though it would have made it really fun for us in the commentators booth.
Yeah, obviously for us it would have been very, very interesting, but Joe Turney obviously playing it safe as well. Honestly, in the grand scheme of things, Joe Turney had a really, really good race, but obviously another great drive by Austin Garrison. Got moves done early to work his way up, and a really good drive by Justin Adaconis as well, who has been out of the seat for a while. One of the first weekends that he's back, and obviously a very good race by him, but obviously very unfortunate for Brandon Carr, who obviously did start this race second after
DeTulio's.
After DeTulio could not start the race here ultimately. But yeah, so definitely unfortunate for Brandon Carr out of the money spots, but what a drive as well by the man himself, Paulie Massimino for BJR and MDR. What a drive by him, Alex.
Yeah, Massimino, I mean, after the qualifying session that really, kind of unraveled for him there with the under tray going underneath his go-kart, allowing him not to continue out in qualifying, having to start almost the tail end of the field to be P5 there, showing the true testament of his speed in the rain as well, the second fastest driver in the rain when it was all said and done throughout the race. Almost able to get around Brandon Carr, and I think in a few more laps might have been able to get up to Justin Adaconis to get into the money, but solid showing for Paulie Massimino there. And then Terlecki, shout out to Nicholas Terlecki as well. Another solid performance for him in P6. Caleb Gafar, the fan favorite, the fan vote. He got in over on votes there to finish P7, the highest finishing rookie in the X30 Pro Senior class. Pretty solid stuff there for Caleb. And then Jacob Kolar on the Kart Republic, Joe Turney's teammate. We asked him before the race if he was going to see if Turney could teach him a few things, and I think it worked out a little bit there. So a solid showing for Jacob Kolar as well. Braden Eves maybe not the shootout race he would have wanted there on the MPG Kart Public there, but Braden East still a solid run in P9, and then Ryan Norberg down a couple of spots there, finishing in the top 10. But again, like Connor said earlier, maybe not his strongest suit there, but I think we're gonna have Xander down in a moment here. What you got, Xander?
Thanks, Alex. Let's go down here to Paulie Massimino. Paulie, talking with your dad mentioned right before he walked over here, man, just a little better qualifying, we would have had something for him. You were rolling through the field, second fastest. After that first of all, let's go back to that last lap getting into Brandon. It looked like, did you end up letting him by into turn 1, just got a little hot?
Yeah, I ended up letting him by. I felt bad. I wasn't really expecting to break that early. I've been breaking that same spot the whole race, and I didn't realize he was going to check up that early, so that was my bad. I gave him the position back. Yeah.
I know it's bittersweet to come away here. 2 nights you've been one of the fastest cars and to not get it, but as you go to bed tonight, I'm sure you're probably at least in a little better spirit for tomorrow. Is there any kind of positive, at least mojo, to take away from a drive like that?
I'm just kind of happy we had speed in the rain. I usually kind of suck in the rain, so it was good to see that we had speed. Obviously very disappointed. I felt like if we got that whole qualifying in, I was just figuring stuff out, and I was going to push really hard towards the end of that session, and unfortunately I didn't get it. But like I said, I really think if I had a better qualifying, I definitely wouldn't have ran with Joe, but I think I could have battled hard for second.
Well, it was a good run regardless. It was fun to watch. Congratulations on the good run. We look forward to hopefully you having a good day tomorrow.
We'll see.
We'll find out here for Paulie. Let's go to Justin Atakonis. Justin, you said to me right before we walked over here, I've been this fired up for third in my life, but what a drive for you to get that spot. How hard was it?
It was really hard, going in this. I haven't driven the rain in it's probably been like 2 years, something like that. So I wasn't expecting much. I guess I never thought I was that good in the rain. So I was kind of expecting to go run around mid-pack and have some fun, but this makes up for the week we have. We've been struggling a little bit for pace on the normal track, so hopefully this makes up for it. At least got a payday no matter what in the podium. So hope tomorrow goes a little better. Got our go-kart got junked up a little bit in the third heat, so hopefully it'll be good tomorrow and be in the same spot, maybe 2 spots higher.
Well, it'd be really cool to see in your return to racing here. I know it's early on the weekend, but you got a little cash. Does that mean, is there any chance we get to see any bit later this year?
I don't know. You have to talk to my dad. That's his decision. So I'd love to. I'd love to have an opportunity to do this again. I don't know if it's in the budget for us, but hopefully at some point, maybe USPKS October. I'm going to college down here in UNC Charlotte, so I'll be local to the area. So maybe USPKS October. Who knows? I'll just see how the year goes and see what opportunities I get.
Well, again, Justin Atakonis, third tonight, has been so fast all the way through. Is looking for a ride, maybe. We'll see if we can find himself one for the U.S. Pro Kart Series at Mooresville here when we come back later in the year. But congratulations, third place tonight. In the money, a little money to take back. Congrats.
Thanks, Andrew.
Let's go over to our winner here. Joe Turney said before he came to this interview he needed to dry his hair off. He's got to look good for Hollywood. You were tense, I think about as tense as I've seen you right before this race on the grid, even though you gave me a smile when you said no shot. How nervous were you for that start, hoping that you would get the jump that you ended up getting?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Alessandro had a problem, so he didn't start behind me. Brandon was there, and I know Brandon's fast in the wet, so I was a bit nervous going through the first few turns. Then when I saw I got a gap, I just did 5 laps, just trying to do the best I could, and managed to take a gap.
Well, I mean, you got a big smile on your face, obviously. Now that this race is over, what would have been the number that it would have taken to go to the rear?
Double or nothing.
I like that. I like that. That's what we thought as well here for $5 grand more. But hey, $5,000 for you to take on back. You still got a shot tomorrow at potentially making it what would be somewhere around 15 grand. There's $5 grand up for that X30 main, $3 grand for the KA main, and then 5 if you could get both of them. With all that on the line, what kind of an extra push does that for you to try and get those wins done?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're here to win as much as we can. Just hope it rains tomorrow.
All right, Joe Turney's hoping it rains. Congratulations, Joe. You whooped them here tonight.
Thank you.
All right, that's Joe Turney. We're looking to see who we can chat with a few more. Alessandro DiTullio's over here. Let me see if I can grab you. ADT, I know this is not the post-race interview we were hoping to have. Unfortunately, they're coming off on the outlap. We thought, was it ended up being water in the engine that sucked in, or what was it?
No, I don't think it was water because, I mean, there was no big puddles or anything. So I felt like either it seized, the engine seized, or the clutch drum came loose or something like that. Unfortunate because, you know, Joe was really fast. We knew that, but it would have been nice to, you know, even just go out there and try to follow him, try to learn, for the future, because we saw how fast he is in the wet, and that would help me. And not only that, but just, to race and try to race him and try to do the best I can. And unfortunately, I didn't get to show anything in that race.
Nonetheless, here, we knew that, again, you had speed here. You've had speed really all weekend. This is only the second weekend with the International Motorsport Kart Republic guys. It's a new home. It's a new go-kart. I'm sure you're a lot more comfortable even this weekend than your first race weekend with the program. So how has that been coming together?
Yeah, I mean, it shows that we have way more speed this week. I'm getting more and more comfortable with the new material. Yeah, I think the speed has been there. It's just unlucky. I mean, we had that DQ in the heat. Now this, so yeah, hopefully we get some good luck and we get to do something tomorrow.
Well, you roll in the top 10 for the pre-final tomorrow. With that weighted equally to the heats, it gives you a good shot to start in the front. And Joe says he wants wet tomorrow. After what you saw tonight, are you on for the wet at all?
Nah, I don't know. Whatever it is, I mean, I'll always do my best. And yeah, I'm tired. I want to go home.
It's been a long night here at Trackhouse Motorplex. Sorry we couldn't get to see you, Ali. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to take a commercial break here. When we come back, we will have podium. See if we can track down Austin Garrison. He went back to the pit instantly, but he's also in the money, second place tonight. So don't go anywhere for the podium ceremonies and hopefully a quick word with our Davie, Florida native. All right, welcome back here to Trackhouse Motorplex. We've caught up with our second place finisher in Austin Garrison on that Speed Concepts Racing Red Speed. Best of the rest here tonight. Austin, well, I mean, we joked P1 in class. There was no catching Joe tonight. But, I mean, overall, the getaway, still P2 over everybody else, has to feel pretty good and to be in the money.
Yeah, no, it feels great, to be honest. We all put our heads together, made pretty good chassis adjustments and good gear changes. We actually had a little bit of motor problems going on in practice, like I said earlier, and we actually had that same problem going on for half of the race in this final here, but I got on the needles and, you know, eventually ended up clearing it up. I was a little bit nervous about that, but, you know, I just drove the best I possibly could, you know, running here and never, you know, racing in the rain here ever, you know, I mean, neither has a lot of people, but it was for sure a huge challenge, and I think our team conquered it. We did pretty good.
It was definitely a good run for you, and obviously you'll be in the money. We'll let you get back over here to the background. Well, let's go ahead and bring up our podium finishers as we pan over to the left to the Trackhouse Motorplex victory lane. So let's take a look at it. First up here, third place and $1,000 in his return back to the seat for Justin Ataconis. Second place, and again, we just talked to the man, $2,000 to Speed Concepts Racing's Austin Garrison. And $5,000 in one of the coolest trophies you'll find anywhere in the world to Joe Turney. It's been a long night for all three of our top finishers. Joe's got to find a way to hold that trophy up and, again, find a way to get that check up as well. 5,000, 2,000, 1,000, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes our live coverage, and that is your podium from the end of it all here for the MG Tires X30 Shootout. A late night tonight. We come back early tomorrow morning with pre-final action, main events, and a lot more cash up for grabs for all three of these drivers and more when we get returned. Thanks again for tuning in. MG Tires X30 Shootout. We'll see you Sunday morning.